Morning, good morning. We will get started right at 10 a.m. So good to see all of my early arrivals here. So good to see all my early arrivals. We'll get started right at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I love it. There's 11 of you here early. You don't know how happy this makes me. This just makes me so happy. I love when you're all early. Absolutely love it. Good morning, everyone. Just about time to get started. We'll give it a few more seconds for everyone to come in, but look at all of you here early and on time. I love it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is that magic hour. It is now 10 a.m. Pacific time. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. So good to see all of you. So excited for this today. This is something I've never done before. So we're going to have a ton of fun today, actually doing the step-by-step process on a square foot of your choosing. But before we get into the meat and bones of it all, I like to just touch base and check in first. And I see a lot of you here. There's a couple new faces. We just want to check in, like, how many of you feel overwhelmed and have no idea where to start when it comes to trying to tackle the clutter, right? That's like the most common thing that happens, is that overwhelm. And it's like, what do you do with that overwhelm? How do you move through that overwhelm and actually get started without getting all frustrated and feeling defeated and being like, nope, I don't ever want to do this again, right? Well, that's the whole point of today, to really just demystify that, teach you the step-by-step process, walk through it with you so that you can actually have me by your side, and you can ask questions as they come up. If you're stuck on something it's hard for you to make a decision about, or you just have questions what to do with this, I'll literally be right here with you by your side. So this is going to be fascinating and interesting. But for those of you that don't know me or aren't with me very often, I always like to start first with checking in with you. This is going to be interactive, so get used to talking. If you're not comfortable being on camera, you don't have to be on camera, so don't feel obligated to be on camera, but I would love to hear from you. So there's a little, when you move your cursor over your screen, there's a reaction button. It allows you to raise your hand. That will put your digital hand up on the screen in order of who puts their hand up first for me. And that way I can call on you. But I want to hear from you, even if you're not on camera, like, what made you want to participate in this workshop? You invested in being here, your time and your money today to be here for the next 3 hours. So what are you hoping to get out of today? I want to make sure I be able to deliver on what you want to achieve, what you want to learn today. So don't be shy. Get those hands raised. If you know me, you know how this works. You get to raise your hand, digital hand, get it up there. I want to hear from you. I got one hand up, yet 2 hands up. Come on, come on. You know I'm going to hear from you, so don't be shy. Get those hands up. What made you invest in this workshop today? What do you want to get out of today? And let's see where we're going. All right, let's get started. Miss Barbara, my love, go ahead and unmute. What are you hoping to get out of today?
When I moved home to be a caregiver, all of my things went into a storage shed. And then when my grandmother passed away, the storage shed was moved into her bedroom.
Okay.
I'm tired of that. I'm at a stage of my life where I want to downsize. I want to part with things. Health issues caused me to not be able to do long periods. But I still want to get it cleaned out. I have tons of paper, I was talking to my sister the other day. I have a box of puppets that I've bought different places that has been sitting in the room for 20 years in the box.
Yeah.
What am I doing with it? It's not serving any purpose. I have a lot of things like that I need to bite the bullet and let go of. And it's hard to let go.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you're
tired of the clutter. I want to make it into a bedroom again.
Yeah.
And I want an arts and crafts room. So, I've got to clean that room so that I can change things around.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you're here. You're in the right place. And just know that the letting go, that not feeling like you're not able to let go, that's a muscle that you get to build over time. So it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to just let go of everything all at once. But what gets to happen is you get to become willing to actually look at the stuff. You know what's there, and it's in that room and it's in those spaces, but it's not being looked at, so you can actually start to make the decision. So when you actually become willing to look, you'll be surprised at the decisions you do make, which is super, super powerful when you begin the process of being willing to look. So I'm super excited you're here. Thank you so much for sharing.
I also want to figure out how to donate, not save it for a yard sale. I want to get rid of it. And be
Put
able
it
to
in the
do that.
car or you call the donation company to come pick it up. Your only job is to let it go.
I know I have to let go. I keep saving it for yard sales, and I really can't physically do yard sales very easily either. I mean, that's hard too. So I
Well,
gotta
and think about
forget
it this
those.
way too, like how much time and effort, and I love to talk about this because people are like, oh, I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna do a yard sale. I'm gonna put it up on OfferUp or Craigslist or wherever, and I'm gonna sell it, right? First
Mhm.
and foremost, how much time, like what is your time worth? I know my hourly rate is pretty high. So if I'm not making a huge return on my investment for selling something, it's not worth it. But let's look at the reality of, just so you can have this, like we can get it down from the ethers and you can see clearly like what that actually requires. If you're going to do a yard sale, you have to physically move everything out into your driveway, into your front lawn, wherever. You get to set up the tables. And here's the thing, you get to price everything because people are going to come swarming at you and haggling you and wanting, what's the price of this, what's the price of this, what's the price of this. So you get to have it all priced, and then you get to sit there all day, take your entire day out, and then whatever doesn't sell, you get to go put back. So
Mhm.
that's really, really time consuming. Depending on, like, are you going to make thousands and thousands of dollars? It really depends on how valuable of items you have. But usually at yard sales, you're going to get haggled. I think the most I've ever made at a yard sale was like $1,000. My time, because my ex wanted to do that, it's not worth my time to
Mhm.
just sit there all day and deal with that. Really not worth my time.
I
But
wouldn't
if you're going
mind 1,000, but I never make that.
to, we had some pretty big items, like a big old, like expensive fitness equipment and things like that. So that's what made it, like a sofa, things like that. But you have to have people that actually buy those things. And you just think about your time, like $1,000 for like 20 hours worth of work to me isn't worth it. I can make that
Yeah.
$1,000 a different way without investing so much of my time. So I look at things differently. The money can come from many different ways. It doesn't have to come from, oh, I spent so much money on this thing, I need to sell it and get the money back on it. When
Mhm.
you're willing to let the thing go, you open the flow for the financial abundance to come from different places. If we're not attached to how it comes, oh, it's got to come back from this because I paid this much for this, you create the space for the financial abundance to come in different ways, which is super powerful. And then the other thing is, if you're not doing a yard sale and you're listing things, say on OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace or all those things, you get to take the pictures of all the items. You get to create a description for all the items. You get to list all the items. You get to field all the phone calls, make all the appointments. And most people, be honest, they don't show up. You like schedule your time. Oh, I'll meet you at such and such a time. And then sitting there and they don't come. And then do you want someone to come to your house? Or are you going to drive the item somewhere and meet them somewhere so nobody knows what? Do you really want people and strangers coming to your house, right? So
Mhm.
those are the things to think about, listing things for sale on those platforms. And then there's the other platform, if you've ever heard of consignment. People are like, oh, I'll bring it to a consignment shop. Well, I ran a furniture delivery and installation company for 8 years, dealt with consignment shops. The way that it works is you get your items to the consignment shop. They're going to price them really low, not what you want to get for them. And then, depending on the shop, you're either going to get 50 to 60% of what they sell it for. But here's the thing, every 30 days, they reduce the price that it doesn't sell. And if it doesn't sell in 90 days, you either come back and pick it up or you let them have it. I always suggest it's much easier to just make the decision to let it go to donation and trust whatever you believe in, God, source, creator, universe, that the item is going to get to the exact right person. And that when you begin to let go and make space, then the universe can bring the abundance to you in a myriad different of ways, like you just ways that were unexpected that you wouldn't even know of. So your only job, I like to tell my clients, is to let go. But if you want to sell stuff, you want to attempt that route, have the facts, It's totally up to you. Personally, my time is so valuable that if it's except for Amazon, because Amazon is super easy, I don't have to stand in line. But if I buy something from a store that I actually have to go back and return, if it's $30 or less, I'm not returning it, I'm donating it. Sometimes even if it's $50 or less, because my time is so valuable that I don't want to go stand in line. I don't want to make another trip to the store and stand in line to return it. So just some food for thought. I know lots of people are like, oh, I'll sell this. I'll put this here. I'm going to sell this to this place. Just think about the time and the effort and the energy that's required of you. And what is your time worth? And the more you start to value yourself and value your time, you're like, hell no. I'll just donate this and trust that the abundance is going to come because I'm letting go. Your only job is to let go. So for those of you that are just jumping in, you guys that know me know that I like to check in. What are you doing here? What made you invest in being here? Your time and your money today. You didn't just sign up for a free workshop. You invested in yourself today. So if you notice, you have that little digital hand. People have their little digital hands up. I want to hear from you. What are you hoping to get out of today? What made you invest your time and money? Get those hands raised because this is interactive. And then let me just check the chat really quick. Karen, I made $5 at a yard sale. Love it. Love it. Yes, the abundance comes back from a different channel. Do not let your sunk cost actually sink you. Yes, everybody has this. Once we sink a cost into something, the perceived value of it goes up in our mind. So something you can ask yourself is like, would I spend this much money on this item now? If I were to go buy this item now, would I spend that money on it? Love that, John. Yes, and the item can become a gift for someone who needs it and can't pay full price. Absolutely love it, love it, love it. All right, Miss Karen, so good to see you, my love. What are you hoping to get out of today?
Well, I just get so much from you. But today, what I'd like to do is free up my guest bedroom. And I've got a couch, and the square foot is what I did when I wrote my book 14 years ago, and all the papers I've generated since. Well, I just published it. And it occurred to me, I could friggin' get rid of this stuff, and then someone could actually sleep on the guest bed. What a novel concept. So yeah, in any case, I just thought I love the support because I find on my own, and I read your book that came with this, paying this thing.
Thank
I
you.
didn't realize fear is the biggest thing holding me back, that I'm going to throw something out that later I'm going to go, oh my gosh, I need that. So yeah. I'm learning that 90% of the stuff I keep, I really don't need to keep. So yeah, I'm excited about, like, you know, I have the real book in hand. I don't need the fake, somebody did this in a conference. We printed it and they put it on my journal, you know, so I have the real one now. I don't need the fake one. You know?
I love it. Yes, 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 yes. And what I want to say about Karen is she's been following me for a while. She's been in my world for a while. You're going to learn, if you don't already know, about a practice called allowing the now today. It is like the keys to the kingdom, the secret sauce. And her publishing her book is a direct result of her doing that practice consistently. It was, you said 11 years or 14 years?
It was 14 years. I wrote it in 3 days, 14 years ago. And it really, you're allowing the now practice is what had me finally friggin' publish the thing.
She is now a published author, people. Look at what can happen. You know what I mean? And then that just creates more space. And you have 2 more books, I think you mentioned, that you want to finish by what, January? Is that what you said?
Yes, I actually wrote them, and there are these free writers workshops you just all get together, because I learned with you, like, this is really valuable. You sit with people and maybe you're in Zoom on, you know, on mute. That's when I write. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do that. Well, guess what? They're like 90% finished. I turn these presentations into books over like 2 to 3 weeks.
So good. So good. So good. And I love that you talked about the fear and, oh my God, if I let it go, I might need it someday. So I want to share a little story with you. If you've heard this story before, bear with me, but I love sharing this story because it's so powerful of showing that we're always given what we need when we need it. So last year, almost a year ago now, because come October, it'll be a year. It's kind of crazy. I totaled my truck on a windy mountain road, flipped it over a couple times. Miracle. My new name is Miracle Walking. Most people don't live flipping a vehicle on this particular road. It's a windy mountain road with a cliff on the side, and that's the way I was rolling. But being the clutter expert, as soon as the truck was totaled by my insurance company, what do you think I did? I took the whole folder, all the files of all the work that I've had done on the truck, and I threw it in the recycle bin. And I was talking to the insurance company. I was like, oh, that really sucks. I just put new tires on it, a new alternator. Like I literally had just done some work. In true transparency, I was testing out my new tires, kind of going a little fast on the windy mountain road. And that's why I crashed. So no chemicals involved, just being the speed demon that I am. I mean, I came first place in a stock car race before I ever came out of my mother's womb. She came in first place in an all women's race. So speed is just in my blood. My dad was a race car driver, grew up, racing go-karts and having my own snowmobile, and lost my right to drive on my permit, couldn't get my license till I was 18. So I was testing out my tires. But the insurance company's like, well, just send us all the receipts and that's going to help increase your value of what we give you back for the total. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. They're all gone. I already recycled them. I'm the clutter expert. I don't keep that stuff. And so what did I do? I called my mechanic. Can you print out all the receipts for all the work, non-maintenance related, just the actual work, because oil changes didn't count, but everything that I had done to the truck in the last year, basically the insurance company said would help increase the value of what I got for the total loss. Within 30 minutes, he had every receipt printed out and I was able to go pick them up. So you will always be provided what you need, no matter what. And I love that you mentioned the word fear, because ultimately there's only two states we can ever be in: fear or faith. Fear is contraction. It's that hanging on to stuff. I'm not going to let it go. Or resisting, like pushing away. No, don't want to look at you. That's all fear. And then there's faith, which is being in a state of allowing the now, being open to the flow and trusting the process. So I love that you touched on that. Love that we got to talk about that as well. So thank you, Karen. So proud of you for publishing your book. Can't wait to see when the next ones come out. And you should send me the link so I can order it. You ever thought of that? There you go. All right, Miss Dana, I see your hand up. Go ahead and unmute, my love. What are you hoping to get out of today?
Hello. I have been giving my time away to too many other people over the last 20 something years. And my tiny studio condo pays the price by many boxes and much paperwork that needs to be sorted through. So my goal is to get through the paperwork, find the gems that I've put aside for projects that need to be completed, and to get rid of the clutter that no longer belongs. So there's probably a lot of things in here that no longer apply. Projects started that don't need to be finished. I just need to get in there, make those decisions and let it go. And I did read your book and it was brilliant and really touched on some really important pieces. Fear, I have to say, that was a big one as well. But just really stopping and looking and saying, does this really still fit my life, and that kind of thing. So happy to be here and finally dig in and get to it. Got a lot of work to do. So thanks for helping us out.
Yeah, so excited to have you here. Thanks for sharing. Sharing. All right. Over your hand there. Oh, John, I love that. Thank you. Tom Cruise has nothing on me, huh? Yeah, right? Seriously. I did go see Maverick. I never watch movies, but I took myself out to see that movie. So awesome. All right, Miss Angela, so good to see you, my love. What are you hoping to get out of today?
I need help. I finally took a look at my living room, dining room, which I now call my storage room, and it looks terrible. And it's hard to get started and hard to let go. I think I might miss something or need it in the future. Like magazines, I go through them all before I throw it away in case there's something there I want to read.
Yeah, no, totally get it. I would love to just, are you open for me to make a suggestion on your vocabulary?
Sure.
Just be gentle with yourself and not judge the way that it looks. You know, if we're labeling it terrible or it's bad or whatever, we're implying permanence already by labeling something. Does it, you know, it doesn't feel good when you look at it, but it's not permanent. There is hope. So
Right.
just,
Okay, good. I like hope.
yeah. Yes. Yes, we like hope. We like hope. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for
Yes.
investing in yourself. Thank you for being here. And for those of you that are just jumping in and don't know what's going on, if you've been around me before, I want to know what made you invest in your time and your hard-earned money to be here today. What made you say yes to being here? This is interactive. So there's the little digital hand raising. There's a reaction button if you're on a computer. Not sure how you do it on your phone right off the top of my head, but there's a little reaction button that allows you to raise your digital hand. It puts you in order on my screen so I can call on you. I want to hear from you. There's 19 of you here. I've heard from 4 of you so far. So, and I got 2 more people to raise their hands. So what are you hoping to get out of today? What made you say yes to investing your time and money to be here? Get those hands raised. I see familiar names and faces. So you don't have to come off camera if you're, come on camera if you're uncomfortable. You saw Dana, she stayed off camera. You just honor you and do you. If you don't want to come off camera, I would still love to hear from you. So just get those hands raised so I can hear what you're hoping to get out of today so I can make sure that I serve you. All right, Miss Christy, good to see you, my love. What are you hoping to get out of today?
Just some more support because I've been following you for a while now and showing up at your things. And that's partly why I'm here, because you have given away so much for free. I thought workshops are fun and it builds community and you really get to focus. So I thought I might give you some money for a change.
Well, I accept, I receive. And what kind of support would you benefit from today?
Just what I hear here in the community. I mean, it's a lifelong process. I've moved big time about 20 times, and I've moved altogether 80 times. And I
wow.
still
okay, I think you beat me. Wow, 80 times. Wow.
Yeah, I lost track in there, but I have stuff in storage over in Europe, and I came here with 3 suitcases, and I've got a U-Haul full right now. So what I have learned doing the allowing the now, and just an interesting thing. I went out to the plant and did the one of my very first ones, and the plant told me to make a flower essence out of its flowers, and I did that. And I think that what that is for is letting go. I think because I had lost my cat and I was just inconsolable, and so I was hanging out with this plant instead, and the plant spoke to me and told me to make a remedy. And I have realized that in order to get rid of clutter, you got to quit accumulating. And what I have done recently is not buying any more books and not joining up to any more programs, because there's something, maybe you have an insight into this, but there's something about the new, like, oh, that, and it's so wonderful. And I don't know what you think you're going to do with it, but how many things do we have the new, and they're just all sitting there. And so that was just really huge, but allowing the now slows you down so you can actually be aware that this is what you're doing, and you stop and you think, and you look at different things. And so it's an ongoing process, but it builds. And one inspiration comes from the one you just had. You know what I mean? It unfolds, and so it's a wonderful journey. So
oh, I love hearing that, and it so creates a space. And I love that you touched on that new shiny feeling, right? When you think about it, like if you've heard me talk for a while, you've heard me share that, physical clutter is one external manifestation of an internal condition, but it shows up in different ways, like addiction, overeating, toxic relationships, mounting debt. And when you think about it, an addict puts something in their body because they want to avoid whatever they're feeling in the moment. It's avoidance. And that shopping, that buying, that purchasing something new is the same thing. It's like, it's an avoidance of the present moment. It's too uncomfortable for me to be here now. And so I'm going to buy this thing because it feels really good in the moment. New and it's shiny and it feels really good. And then we never use it. And then we beat ourselves up because it's something we bought and then we never use. But it's the same idea of avoidance. It's the energy of avoidance. It's like not being present with the moment, which is allowing the now. And it's like, oh, I'm going to distract on buying this nice new shiny thing, whatever the thing is. And it fixes for a moment. It's that fix, like a drug addict takes a hit, a food addict eats something they want to eat, whether it's carbs or sweets or whatever. And then the shopping, the over compulsive shopping, it's the same energy. It's like, and so the power of allowing the now is that, you know, we have a thought, the impulse to act, and then we act without allowing the now. We have the thought and then we act, we miss the impulse. But when you start practicing allowing the now, it creates the space for you to experience the place of impulse and be aware of it and make a different choice rather than that unconscious, I'm unconscious clicking and buying, unconscious clicking and going to the store and buying, or unconscious shoveling food in your mouth or taking the next drink, taking the next hit, whatever it may be. It creates that space so that you can become aware of the impulse and shift. So absolutely love that. And that's actually, we're going to dive into like next level allowing the now today a little bit. And that's really the next level. So you have your practice and actually doing it consistently and learning to meet the moment right where it is. And then the next level of how it applies in the areas of your life, how it creates the space for you to make different choices. So excited to have you here, Christy. Thank you for sharing, my love. Did you want to say something else?
I just wanted to add that from the very beginning, when you said that we run away, I think you said that, right? That you're the person who said that we run away from things. And it isn't necessarily even that we're afraid or we have any other thing. We're in the habit of doing it. We don't live in the present. And so we're always running. We're just always running. And so, yeah, and I mean, all of those things, you know, whether you're conscious or not, it's just the whole thing of stopping and being conscious.
100%. It's predominantly unconscious until you start practicing allowing the now, and then you become aware, you become conscious. And then once you become conscious, you can make a different choice. But if you're unconscious, you have no power to make a different choice because you don't even know. You're just looking at the results later, like, oh, I just spent $100 on nothing, or I spent thousands of dollars on a program that I'm not showing up for, or whatever the case may be, right?
Yes. One more thing real quick. What I've
no rush. No
Oh,
rush.
okay.
No rush.
Okay.
We get to be
thank you.
present. We have plenty of time.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Because another thing is, I don't know why I'm sort of hoarse, but what's my next step or what's next? Those two questions. So if I'm doing something and I've completed it, instead of just mindlessly, you know, I don't know, turn on the TV or go to the computer or do whatever, I just go, okay, what's next? And then if I'm working on something, what's my next step in that thing? Or it's time to let that go for now. So what is next? And then to make a conscious decision to do something, either self-care or something constructive that I'm working on, or to call a friend. You know, it's like stopping and seeing what the options are, you know, and then choosing you more with your heart, or, you know, also you might need to rest or whatever, but it's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's a whole new level of intimacy. It's like becoming intimate with the present moment. It's like slowing down.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what's next? Like when we get into that state of overwhelm, when you're feeling that feeling of overwhelm, it's really a lack of intimacy with the present moment and not knowing what to do next. We're so in the future and so caught up by the future that we don't slow down and just take stock of what is and look at what needs to happen next and be able to prioritize. But when we can learn to just slow down and be like, okay, I've got this, 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 and this. What's the priority? Okay, let me start there. And you break it down into small, manageable steps. The overwhelm just dissipates because we get intimate with the moment. And intimacy, into me, see. Love that word. Love that word. Yeah, so good, so good. John, I also just want to acknowledge you. I think I'm going to hire you as my assistant to like just put in the key points into the chat. So appreciate you just dropping those little nuggets in the chat. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I got 2 more hands up, but I want to hear from more of you. What are you hoping to get out of today? Oh, Karen, I suppose we'll let that slide. All right. I mean, 8 years, 14, you still published the book after practicing allowing the noun. So awesome, awesome, awesome. So I got 2 hands raised, but I want to hear from you. What are you hoping to get out of today? You not only invested your time to be here for a free workshop, you invested your hard-earned money to be here with me today. You invested in yourself today. So I want to hear from you. Get those digital hands raised. There's a little reaction button down below. Raise your digital hand. It puts you in order on my screen so I can call on you. I want to hear from you. I've heard from 5 of you so far, and there's like 19 of you here. So let's get those hands raised. I want to hear from you. Don't worry about coming on camera. If you're not comfortable, you can stay off camera. Just raise that digital hand so I can hear from you and make sure I get to serve you and get you what you need today, what you came here for. Miss Pat Sammys, good to see you, my friend. Go ahead and unmute. What are you hoping to get out of today?
I need to start doing. Now, I've thought about it long enough. I need to do. My son, who's 28, is scheduled to come for a visit in November, end of November. Haven't seen him in a year, and I'd like to get my house in order. So I'm really looking at 4 rooms. Okay, I'd like
4 rooms by November.
At least to make it look really, really nice. I'd like to replace our sofa and love seat and move a couple pieces in the living room around. Not a total redo, but just to kind of move pieces around a little bit. But I have to declutter my table again of papers in the dining room and the 2nd bedroom, which is the room where he used to live in. I need to kind of tidy that up, and master bedroom. That'll be last. I know it's where I sleep, but he's not going to be in there. So that's going to have to wait, I think. But I've thought about it. I need to do. I have a job in a school. I'm not going into it, but it's physically and mentally draining. So I get up at 5:30. I get home about 3:30. I have a dog to walk. I have house chores, maintenance to do. And after
and you
that,
have that bird to take care of.
And the bird. And I don't feel like decluttering or organizing. I just want to go. So we all have 24 hours in the day, and I just need to keep going. 15 minutes a day is not going to do it. It's not going to do it.
You might benefit from something I'm going to share with you all later, the 2-day VIP immersion experience where I actually come to you and we like knock shit out for real. You want to get those rooms cleared, like having extra hands, having support. My superpower is creating order out of chaos. So the 15 minutes is a start. Like, it's baby steps. Like, it didn't accumulate overnight. It doesn't go away overnight. So if you're like, oh, well, 15 minutes isn't enough and you're not doing anything, then all of those days of 15 minutes are gone when you could be having this cumulative effect versus, oh, well, 15 minutes isn't enough, so I'm not going to do anything, right? Super glad you're here. So love seeing you. Glad you were willing to invest in yourself today. So good to see you, my love. I appreciate you. Miss Maja, how are you today? Is that how you say your name, or is it Maya? You're muted, my love. Unmute. You're muted. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, it's Maya, and nice to see other Maya here. And yeah, it's really great to be here, Mel. I really appreciate your philosophy. I'll call it philosophy, but it's deeper than that. Like getting to the root of this instead of just the organize and whatnot. And so the combination of that approach with the actual support of doing it right now was like super exciting for me to show up for this time. And So when I thought about what I wanted, like the next thing on my list felt like going through a tub of framed artwork that didn't sell like in 2008. And I'm not doing shows anymore. And what do I do with this? And that's bigger than a square foot. And so I was like, maybe that's not the thing to do today. And that made me realize I have these cabinets. Like these are over here, like pretty much square feet for me
Yep.
to work with one at a time. And I was like, oh, isn't that handy? Like if I just methodically go through these. But I don't quite know right now which square foot I'm going to go through. Most of them are notes from creative projects or like just a lot of different creative things. And then a good portion of it is like, legal financial paperwork kind of stuff. So that's where I'm at. Any advice about how to pick my square foot?
Whatever's easiest.
Oh.
Easiest first. You want to start with things that are easy for you to look at and make decisions about that aren't going to cause a lot of stress. So sometimes it's a junk drawer or, like a drawer of kitchen utensils or something that you don't have a lot of attachment to, or a lot of like, oh my God, if I let this go, what's going to happen with like financial paperwork? And I don't know what to keep or things like that. So start with something that's definitely easy for you to make decisions about, that's going to cause the least amount of stress.
Okay, so here's where I get stuck, because it did occur to me to do my junk drawer. But it's like, okay, I've done my junk drawer like, once a year, let's say. And so
that's
it's
normal.
Like what was that?
That's normal. The junk drawer is the junk drawer for a reason. It's like when you don't know where to put something, it goes. And you guys know, like, it's not a one and done thing. You're not going to declutter and never have to declutter again. Like every time I put laundry away, I'm letting go of stuff. I always have a bag of donation in my closet because new stuff is always coming in. That's the way the universe works. Like we're always accumulating. Things are always coming in. So my other acronym I love to talk about is ABP, always be purging. You just start to develop a habit where it's like you'll be looking at something and be like, oh, I'm not using this anymore. And it goes in the donate bag. It's not this scheduled time to organize and declutter. It just starts to happen naturally from the inside out. You're just like, oh, I'm not using this anymore. Let me donate this. So for instance, I had these books that I was super attached to. I'd been carrying them around since 1998. They were books that I referenced often. I swore I would never get rid of them. And they sat on my shelf. I've moved them. I've referenced them. I've read them more than once. So it wasn't like they never got touched. I would go back and reference them even. But one day last year, I was just sitting in my chair, putting my shoes on, and I looked up at my bookcase. I wasn't planning anything. It was just, I looked up at my bookcase and I'm like, oh, it's time for you to go. I took the whole stack, put it on a little table, took a picture of it, put it on Facebook, and then I donated it. So the junk drawer, it will reaccumulate. Once a year, great. Like that's the place where you put the stuff that you don't know where to put the stuff. But eventually what's going to happen with the consistent allowing the now practice is you'll slow down and be like, oh, what do I use this for? Where does it make sense for it to go? And you'll actually put it like with like where other like things are rather than the junk drawer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so you're going to walk us through that today. So I'll have the practice of doing that with each piece of my, because I just don't want to do my junk drawer again and not have that like have any effect in all the other things that really desperately need to be busted. But if the idea is, oh, Mel is walking me through this and I'm learning this process, then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and everything counts because every time, all clutter accumulates for one reason: an unwillingness to look, an unwillingness to slow down and be present and look and make a decision. And so just no matter whether it's a junk drawer or it's something super simple or you feel is trivial, your willingness to begin looking and deciding is the key. It's the muscle that you begin to build. And the more you become willing to look and make decisions, the stronger that muscle is. So you wouldn't walk into a gym if you've never lifted weights and grab a 10 or a 20-pound dumbbell, right? You'd start with something small. So you start with what's easy, which almost seems like isn't going to give you any results at all, but that's just a judgment. We get to learn the skill set first. We get to build a foundation. We get to strengthen the muscle so that those things that are harder for us to let go of, for those of you that are struggling with, I have a hard time letting go, you're not going to just let go of stuff like that. You didn't accumulate it like that. It's just not how it works. So think about it this way. If you've been like hanging on to something for years and years and years, imagine your grip is just super, super tight, right? It's just like the years go by, the grip gets tighter. Are you going to just go, whoa, and let it all go at once? That's not realistic. It's going to be more like prying your pinky up and then prying your next finger up and then the next finger. And it's going to be gradual. You get to build the muscle. So I didn't have a lot of accumulation because I started this process when I was 18, but I had a lot of attachments to things. For me, it was books, music when it was on CD. I collected CDs. And it was containers. I love the container store. Don't let me loose in a container store. And office supplies, crafting supplies. Those were the things that I was super attached to that I wasn't willing to let go of. Everything else was easier. But over time, and I'm talking like 10 years plus, like of being willing to look at things and look at things over and over again, the letting go muscle got strengthened to where most stuff doesn't hold any attachment for me anymore. So an example I like to share is I think it was like in 2007. I had a girlfriend who broke up with me and left all of my stuff in the driveway. She packed all my shit up and left it in the driveway. You guys remember the little Ford Rangers before they were like full-size trucks and it was this narrow little truck bed? I drove up with my little Ford Ranger. I did not look in the boxes. Whatever fit in the back of the truck went, and I left the rest with no regret, no like, oh, what did I leave behind? Wasn't attached to any of it. I have no idea to this day what was left behind, and I didn't miss any of it because that letting go muscle gets strengthened, and we're not attached to stuff anymore. You know, the attachment to stuff in general lessens, and it gets easier and easier to let go. Will you have things that are challenging for you to let go of? Absolutely. Absolutely. But at some point, when you become willing to look, you will decide to let it go. Like I didn't go to college, but I audited a couple of college classes, and one of them was a class that I just fell in love with. I kept all the paperwork from all the worksheets from the teacher. I kept all my work, and it was in this little purple binder, and it sat in my desk. Did I ever open it and use it? No. But every time I moved and packed it, I would look at it and, oh, I'm attached to it. I'm not letting this go. And then it would be unpacked into my desk, and I would still do nothing with it. And then I would move and I would look at it, and I'm like, oh, I'm attached to this. I'm not letting it go. Years and years and years of moving and looking at it, till one day I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'll let go of my written work, but I'll keep the teacher's worksheets. And I let go of part of it. And then the next time I was able to let go of the rest of it. But I can't tell you how many times I looked at it over and over again and wasn't ready to let it go yet. And so one thing you're going to learn from me is that you get to meet yourself where you are. I will never force you to let go of something you're not ready to let go of, because that is detrimental. You will let go of it when you're ready to let go of it, and not a moment sooner. So the allowing the now practice that you're going to learn today is all about meeting yourself where you are and acknowledging and looking at what you do let go of, not what you keep hanging on to. Because we want to build that muscle of letting go. And as you start to let go of things and realize that the world isn't going to end, your needs are still going to be met, everything is going to be okay, the sky isn't going to go dark, it's not going to fall on you, then it's like, oh, I can let go of more. And then there's the attachment lessens and lessens as you create more and more space. Your grip lessens. And as your grip lessens, your hands open. And when your hands are open, instead of clenched shut, you can receive the abundance that the universe, God, source, creator has in store for you. But if your hands are closed, holding on to all of this stuff, no hands left to receive, right? I mean, just imagine there's literally money falling down from the sky all around you right now, and you can't pick it up because your hands are closed. Like, that's the truth of the matter. Like, there's so much abundance in store for you because it is your birthright. It already exists inside of you. We just have all of this stuff that we're hanging on to that gets in the way, that blocks the flow.
Wow, you're so motivational. I didn't know that this morning. I mean, everyone you've talked to has been so motivational. So I also encourage other people to raise their hands. But I'm going to ask this question, and maybe this is better for another moment, but I'm curious what you said. It would be detrimental to force us to let go of something, and that feels true. And I'd love to hear you articulate what is detrimental about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you force yourself to let go of something that you're not ready to, then you have regret. And when you have regret, it makes you not want to do this process anymore. So then you just put the halt on and you don't even bother working on it anymore. I mean, that show Hoarders, for those of you who don't know, I was actually an assistant organizer, so I've seen the behind the scenes. I've been on an episode of Hoarders, and because the show is paying for the cleanup, they force you to look at everything and make decisions about everything in 4 days, like everything in your entire house. Imagine having to decide about everything in your entire house in 4 days, right? And you're like, you have all these people pressuring you around you and forcing you to make these decisions. And so you let go of things that you're not ready to let go of yet, just to get them off your back. But what happens when the show is over? They're more traumatized than when they were before, because they've been forced to like let go of all of this stuff that they weren't ready to. And when you think about it, when you accumulate clutter and you hang on to it, whether it's clutter or carrying weight on your body or whatever it is, it literally acts as the Great Wall of China. It is your defense system. It is your way of protecting yourself for whatever reason, keeping people out, keeping people away, keeping you feeling safe. And so if someone comes in and forces you to let go of something, or you let go of something you're not ready to, you're leaving yourself exposed and raw, and it re-traumatizes you. And then you're like, well, fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore. This hurts too much. Like, no way. Like I said, I knew I would regret it if I let go of something. And you kind of have a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, I said if I let go of something that I would regret it and I would need it someday. And then and it just sets you back. So that's really how it becomes detrimental. And that's why it's so important that you be willing to meet yourself where you are and only let go of what you're ready to let go. My rule of thumb when we're actually looking at something to make a decision is 5 seconds. If you're looking at it for more than 5 seconds and you haven't decided whether you're letting it go or not, you're just keeping it for now. There's no judgment. It just is what it is. We focus on the wins. We focus on what you do let go of, not what you hang on to, because the whole idea is to build the letting go muscle, not to take out the club and beat yourself up. Or we're not going to build strength. We're not going to build a letting go muscle by beating yourself up, right? We're going to celebrate what you do let go of and start building that letting go muscle. And you get to be gentle with yourself, because this has been going on for years. I mean, just get honest with yourself. How long have things been accumulating, right? And you don't have to say it out loud, but think about that for a minute. There is no way that if they've been accumulating for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, that you're going to look at everything and just be willing to let shit go all at once. I don't candy coat things. I don't sugarcoat things. It is going to take years for you to get through things and let go of everything the way that you want. It doesn't happen overnight. If someone tells you that's possible, It's not, because you would go into decision fatigue, you'd go into overwhelm, and you'd be like, screw this. I'm not doing this anymore. And then you just start the accumulation process all over again and reclutter everything back up and go right back to the way you were, if not even more accumulation than what was there, to like add the extra layers of protection. I'm not going to let that happen again, right? I was working with a client who like, I mean, there was trash all over the floor, there was stuff everywhere, every surface was covered, and she wanted me to help her with this little 5-foot section on the floor, a bunch of shoe boxes, right? A bunch of shoe boxes, and she wanted me to help her, and we went through them, and there was no forcing her to let go of anything, but even the fact, because she wasn't doing the inner work, the allowing the now piece to create the corresponding space, we just cleared 5 feet of space off the floor. It was like the only clear space in her entire apartment. And after just going through that little bit of stuff, she disappeared off the face of the planet and didn't contact me for a month because she couldn't handle the clear space, right? That's why I'm a proponent of the inner work first, because if you don't create the space inside, you won't be able to tolerate the space outside, and you're going to rush to fill it right back up again.
That's really good. I'm going to go listen to that. It was a very quotable moment. Thank you so
Where's
much,
John?
It's great to be here. Thank
Have
you.
you here, Maya. I appreciate you sharing. All right, let's get those hands up. I see one more hand up, but I want to hear from more of you. What's going on? What are you hoping to get out of today? Why did you say yes to giving your time and your hard-earned money to be here and learn about this process so you can get free from clutter? Get those hands up. All right, Miss Libby, so good to see you, my love. What are you hoping to get out of today?
So I just want to say that I have an unstable internet connection, so I hope you can hear me. And
Yeah.
also I'm on in 2 different places because in order to find a surface to work on, I had to clear off some stuff and dump it into a box. But I'm mainly here. I've been as much as I know, using your methodology, working on my front hallway, but I just want more practice. And but I did have 2 successes. So in my cleaning up, and I have a dog that's a shedder, and they're like gobs of fur around all the time. And so I kind of cleaned off this area on the coffee table and then vacuumed up some of his fur. And I've had this pair of slippers that have probably been sitting on the floor for maybe 2 years or 3 years. And I said to myself, would I ever want to put my feet inside those again? And no. And so they went in the garbage. And then last night, so I had to go through literally, I've been, well, I've been working on getting my daily whatever maintenance in place, which is, I'm still not have it mastered, but I'm working on it. But I had to go through, like I had a stack like this of mail.
So there's just no mastery, just so you know. So take yourself off the hook. There's no such thing as perfection. So let's just restate that sentence with what you have been doing and leave out the haven't mastered it yet. How's that?
Doing things on a daily to keep myself.
Yes.
But anyway,
yes.
I mail like this, and I had some critical bills that had gotten buried in there. So I have been going through this stuff and kind of sorting it, and then sorting it again. Anyway, last night I looked at, so I live in a community where it's a continuing care community, and we have activities every month and movies every month. And there was the movie schedule from last month. I have been keeping these movie schedules when I come across them because I think, oh, I want to go and look and see what movies I want to see. I don't ever go to the movies because I'm so chronically tired that I fall asleep every time. I mean, it's a movie, so, and I looked at it and I said, I'm not going to do this again. So it went in the recycle. So I can tell that it's something. So it's, but I'm mainly here for practice. I also want to say that my dog is really not doing well. So if I disappear sometime and don't come back, it's because I have to let go of him. So
Yeah. Oh, just sending so much love for your puppy and for you. Thank you for being here.
For a long time, so he's had a good life. But I just
Yeah.
today it just things don't always happen the way you want them to happen. But anyway, thank you for
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing and celebrating you for your wins of letting go of those slippers. Look at that. Look at that. All right, let me just check in the chat here for a second. I see some more hands going up. Get those hands up. I want to hear from you. The other Maya in the room. I'm here to try things differently, to be reminded of all the things I've heard before but have forgotten, and to sit inside a space of normalizing this overwhelm and clutter mashup. I really appreciate this approach, focusing on celebrating progress and subtleties of what underlies the visible issues, and want to keep the momentum going as I have a dream of moving elsewhere, and this shit ain't coming with you. All right. I love it, love it, love it. Good, good, good. It does not have to come with you, Maya. So thank you for sharing, my love. Good to see you. Miss Jennifer, so good to see you, my love. How are you doing today? What are you hoping to get out of today?
Well, I actually was lucky and got some sleep last night. I'm so unused. I was going to have my exercise done and everything, but I'm actually grateful I got the sleep, to tell you the truth. I wanted to take a look at my taxes today, and get the folders out that are necessary, and just look and see if I can take a look at dividing it into doable tasks, and just see where I can go with that.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Getting through the tax paperwork, getting through the tax paperwork and getting clarity about it. That's important. We don't want the IRS coming after us, right? That's the one entity you don't want coming after you. So good to see you, my love. All right. Anybody else want to jump in and share? What are you hoping to get out of today? I want to make sure I'm able to serve you. So what made you say yes to investing your time and hard-earned money to be here today with me for this Freedom from Clutter Intensive? Anybody else want to share before we dive in today? So good to see all of you. I'm so excited to do this. This is like the first time ever doing it live rather than just teaching the 7-step process. Actually going to have you do it along with me. So this is going to be super, super cool. I'm excited to be doing this myself. All right, well, going once, twice. All right, looks like we are diving in. All right, so let me just give you a brief overview of the things that we're going to cover, and then we will get started. So we talked about it a little bit in the question and answers, and you guys sharing that we're just going to talk about how clutter even accumulates in the first place and all the different forms it takes. The only tool you need to keep it from coming back, and I think most of you already know what that is. Then we're going to dive into that step-by-step process to actually get through your square foot of stuff, right? And let's not even call it clutter, because that already has a negative connotation, right? It's just stuff that's accumulated that you just haven't been willing to look at it. There's no judgment around it. It's not right, wrong. It's not good or bad. It just is. This is it right now. I've got this amount of stuff that's accumulated that I haven't been willing to look at. That's it. No judgment around it, okay? All right. So you, this will be repeat, but repeat is always good because we need to hear things more than once. For some of you, this will be completely new information. But what sets me apart, what's different, is I teach based on the premise that the outside is only a mirror of the inside. You can work on the outside all day long, but if you don't address the root, you don't get things out by the root, the clutter will keep coming back. How many of you have cleared a surface, organized your closet, cleaned out your garage so you could park the car back in it, and in no time it went right back? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're not alone, right? So outside only mirrors the inside. What we have on the inside is what I call inner clutter. Now, as humans, none of us get out of life unscathed. So you don't have to have a big, hairy trauma that has happened in your life. You don't have to have been abused, neglected, molested, or any of those things. Just the fact that you were born a human being and you came out of the womb or you were removed cesarean section, or you were removed with forceps, however you were brought into this world is freaking traumatic. You went from this nice, warm, cozy, safe place into this room of bright lights with this doctor sticking needles in every orifice of your body. And you went from that nice, cozy, warm place to this having a trauma, right? A car inside a garage. Are you mad? I love it, John. So nobody gets out of life unscathed, okay? So you don't have to have a big, hairy trauma to have any of this inner clutter, okay? So, and you also, from 0 to 8 years old, have no filter. And so everything that you're told, you take on as truth. You have to work hard. Money doesn't grow on trees. Sound familiar? All these limiting beliefs that kind of come up. Life is hard. People that have money are evil, or whatever it is. You get these stories and it becomes your programming. So from 0 to 8, you have no filter. So you accumulate what I call limiting beliefs, the beliefs that don't empower you. You learn those beliefs from the people in your environment. When you have trauma in your life, whether it's coming through the birth canal, being born into this planet, or experiencing abuse, neglect, or whatever form that takes, repressed emotions come along with that. When you're young, you have no idea how to process emotions. You don't know what to do with them. And so they get stuck, right? So inner clutter is accumulation of repressed emotions, limiting beliefs, resentments that we accumulate from the traumas that happen in our lives, fears that we take on, and judgments, right? All of that stuff acts as inner clutter, and it starts to accumulate outside, and then it begins to manifest inside. So this is based on the principle of correspondence. It's a law that operates in the universe. Just like gravity, it's indisputable. So if you throw a pen up in the air, it's going to fall. If you jump off a building, you're not going to fly unless you have a wingsuit on. You will hit the ground, right? We may not necessarily agree with gravity, but it's always working. It's indisputable, right? So we can agree on that, right? Gravity is indisputable. It's always working, right? So this is another law in operation that's always working, the principle of correspondence. And it states, as above, so below, or as within, so without, okay? Or you may know it better as in the Our Father, the prayer, as on earth as it is in heaven. Heaven being the inner, earth being the outer, okay? And so the beautiful thing about this law is when you change the inside, the outside changes effortlessly. How many people have to drag themselves to get organized? Like, oh my God, I've got to like go clean out the closet, or I got to do this. It's like there's this effort, there's this dread, there's this like, there's no excitement about it. You don't want to do it. You know, you have to do it, but it's like, oh my God, this is the last thing I want to do, right? What if it came from a space of you actually unconsciously start doing it and you're having fun doing it? There's no planning it. It's just like, oh, next thing you know, you're cleaning out the junk drawer, or next thing you know, you're going through stuff on your closet floor, and it's happening spontaneously and you're enjoying yourself. Can you imagine what that would feel like? Right? That's the way that it happened for me. I wasn't trying to get organized. Like, me getting organized was the last thing that I wanted to do. I was trying to get off the freaking planet, okay? Organization was not what I was trying to do. And as a result of learning how to be present for my own experience through all the journey that I took, for those of you, most of you already know my story, so I'm not going to spend time going into that today, but I experienced a lot of trauma and loss and had a ton of inner clutter. And my room, you couldn't walk in it. It was completely covered. But I didn't care about that. Like, I just wanted to get off the planet. I was trying to commit suicide, not stay and get organized. And as a result of learning the allowing the now practice that is the core of what I teach, it became a byproduct. Like, I accidentally got organized is the way that I first would talk about it, because I wasn't trying to get organized. I wasn't coming to workshops. I wasn't asking for help. It just happened as a result of making space on the inside. And that's why I'm so passionate about doing it this way, because that's how the change is lasting. And it's from my own experience. I didn't go to school. I didn't study books on this. I'm just sharing what happened for me. Me doing the practice, the allowing the now, is what caused me to create enough space inside that I just spontaneously started creating order in my room and in my space, and went from someone who was fine living in chaos and filth to someone who could no longer tolerate disorder and actually loves creating order out of chaos. It is my superpower. I can walk into any chaotic situation and create order in it. People think they have no space. Like, I come in and create a shit ton of space. Okay. So outside being a mirror of the inside, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but all of the clutter is accumulating for one reason, right? The unwillingness to look at it. And if the outside is a mirror of the inside, the unwillingness to look at what's going on out there only means one thing. You're unwilling to look in here. It's the unwillingness to look within, to have that intimacy, the intimacy with oneself, the allowing the now, being present for your own experience. Okay. So it's that simple. It's not complicated. It's an unwillingness to look within. And so the way to get free from clutter in every area of your life ultimately is to become willing to bring your presence to your life. I love to say that your presence is required. That's it. That's the only requirement to get free from clutter in every area of your life. Being willing to be intimate with your own experience. And you do that through the practice that you've heard me talk about and most of my clients talk about, allowing the now. And so allowing the now is a simple process, and it's not, how many people are like, I can't meditate, I don't like meditation, don't make me meditate, I can't focus, I can't calm my mind down, right? Well, great. This is awesome. This is for you. This is so perfect. What I love about allowing the now is you get to let your attention go to whatever is happening in the moment. There is no quieting your mind down, bringing your focus back to your breathing when your mind wanders. There's none of that. It's allowing yourself to be present with whatever's showing up in the moment, whether you're feeling a physical sensation in your body, you're experiencing an emotion, you're thinking about something, you're hearing something, you're smelling something, you're seeing something. It's just being present and allowing the moment to be exactly as it is. It's that acceptance, that allowing, that creates space. Because remember, if you're avoiding and not willing to look, you're in a state of contraction, right? You're either hanging on or pushing against. So that's one state you can be in. And the only other state is this state of allowing. It's opening and creating the space for things to be exactly as they are, without judging them, without needing to fix them or change them in any way. And when you can create the space, then magic happens. You're creating space for magic to happen in your life. All right, so how does this allowing the now practice actually work for those of you that want to understand it a little bit? My analyzers out there that need to have some details, right? And my analyzers out there, they need to know, how does this work? What do you mean I'm just going to sit here for 5 minutes and I'm just going to notice how I feel and notice what I'm thinking and notice my experience, and all of a sudden my clutter is going to get clear, right? All right. Analyzers, this is for my analyzers. Okay. Might be a little woo-woo for my analyzers, but here's the deal. We already know that everything is energy, right? So everything is energy. Everything is vibrating. It's moving. Nothing is static. And so everything that's moving has a vibrational frequency, okay? Clutter has a lower vibrational frequency, okay? It's on the low end of the scale. The state of allowing has a higher frequency vibration. And we all remember from math class that a positive and a negative cancel each other out, right? Get a positive and a negative, boom, cancel, clear, okay? So it works the same with this vibrational frequency. When you bring a higher vibration of allowing to look at a lower vibration of clutter, whatever it is, just being willing to look, it begins to cancel each other out. And as you're canceling this lower frequency vibration out, you're literally creating energetic space inside of you. And remember the principle of correspondence, the outside is a mirror of the inside. So the more space you create inside, the more space starts to open up outside. Okay, I'm going to say something right here. It may not happen for you the way it happened for me. It's very important for you not to compare yourself to others on this journey. Your journey is going to be unique. For me, the need to create order in my life happened first. Then I was dealing with addictions. Then I would get out of the toxic relationship. Then I released the weight. For those of you that don't know my story, I was a crystal meth addict, crack cocaine addict. I was almost 170 pounds in a toxic relationship for 12 years, had shit ton of debt, over $50,000 in debt. So it will happen different ways for each and every one of you. Okay, so don't be attached to, oh my God, I'm not spontaneously clearing the clutter first. You might start creating more space in your schedule for you and actually taking care of you and having healthier boundaries in your life and saying no to things that you would normally say yes to, maybe. You know what I mean? Or maybe you start releasing weight from your body first rather than the physical stuff in your environment. Okay, so just know that it's going to be unique to you. No two paths are the same. So I highly recommend not comparing yourself to anyone else. Each of your journeys is unique. It will be unique to you. It's just every area of your life is going to get better when you start practicing this allowing the now practice. All right. And so allowing the now is simply allowing the moment to be exactly as it is, meeting yourself right where you are. The more and more you practice this and you do it consistently, what's going to happen is what we call next level allowing the now. It's going to start infiltrating every area of your life. We talked about that thought, the impulse, the action, and you have most of the time we're just reacting to life. It's like, oh, you react and it's unconscious and there's reaction, 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 reaction. Next level allowing the now is being able to apply it and use it throughout the day. Like it starts to just spill over into your life. Like for instance, when I crashed my truck, I used to be like, how many people like, they just start like, you start berating yourself and beating yourself up. And it's not just the club with the spikes comes out. And it's like, once you start having the negative self-talk, it's just this downward spiral, right? Been there, done that, okay? Because of allowing the now, after I crashed my truck, I found myself driving one day. It was a few weeks later, and I was just like, oh, that was stupid. Like I just had this judgmental thought about what I did. Now, normally, before allowing the now, it would have just kept going. I would have kept beating myself up and I would have felt like shit about it and my day would have been hell. But because of allowing the now, what that created was space. And I was able to be like, oh, there you are, judgment. I see you, because you can acknowledge what's happening in the moment. So when you're doing allowing the now, we're going to do an experience together. You're just meeting yourself where you are and witnessing what's showing up in the moment. And that skill of being able to witness what's showing up in the moment and acknowledge what is begins to take the power out. So I was like, oh, there you are, judgment. I see you. And when I was able to acknowledge it, it created the space for me to be like, oh, it wasn't the most skillful choice I ever made to test out my new tires on a windy mountain road. But it doesn't make me stupid, right? I was able to just shift and reframe. And then I just laughed at myself. I'm like, oh, laughed and I went on with my day rather than taking the club and continuing to beat myself up. So you'll have your what I call formal practice where you're consistently doing it every day. And then the accumulation of that practice is going to start spilling out into your everyday experience. And it's going to help you become aware of things that trigger you into reaction. So for example, I get triggered when I'm driving and I have slow people around me. Not because I like to drive fast, but what I found out through this practice of being willing to get intimate with myself is that when I'm driving and I have somebody slow in front of me, or I have people on my sides and I can't get by, what that's triggering in me is a feeling of being trapped from having abuse in my life. And so that trigger, instead of being, at first it was totally unconscious, so I would go into road rage and I was just start vomiting at the mouth and screaming and probably honking my horn and, you know, flipping them off or whatever it was, or swerving around them as soon as I could get out. Realized what the trigger was, and it's like, oh, there I go feeling trapped again. And when I could acknowledge the fact that I felt trapped and I created the space inside of myself, what would happen is the cars would move and all this space would open up around me. So powerful that being able to be present for your experience and get intimate with the moment, learning how to respond rather than react, is the next level of allowing the now. That's how it starts to spill over into your life. So you have your formal practice where you're doing your, we call it doing your reps, right? You're going to the gym and you're doing your reps, you're doing your practice. And then the results are, it starts to show up in every area of your life. You feel more calm and grounded, less reactive, more present. If you got kids, you're totally present with them and enjoying hanging out with them and playing games with them rather than, I don't have time for this, right? You get to be more present for your life, for your loved ones, the ones you care for, your partner, whatever it is. Like so many, it just starts to spill over into so many areas, into every area of your life. But that's really the next level of what happens with allowing the now when you do it consistently, not just the releasing of the clutter and letting go of excess weight and getting out of debt and all of those things. It's like those moment to moment experiences where you would normally get stressed out and overwhelmed. You become the eye of the hurricane, that calm center in the midst of all the chaos happening around you. You can be calm and serene while everybody else is losing their shit around you. And you're just like, I'm good. All is well. What are you getting all upset about? Because you're nice and calm and grounded and present. Love it. All right, so that's next level, allowing the now. Now we get to dive in and actually do the experience. Lots of you have done this with me, but we're just going to take a few minutes. And for those of you, what I forgot to say too is that what I love about allowing the now is, for those of you that are like, I don't want to meditate, I can't focus my mind. I liken allowing the now to the arcade game Whack-A-Mole. If you don't know what Whack-A-Mole is, it's this game with these holes and these moles pop up and you have a mallet. Now, I'm not into hurting any moles, okay, for real, but it's a game and it's a cushioned mallet and they pop up and you don't know where they're going to pop up, but your job is to like bop them on the head when they pop up. So allowing the now, instead of focusing on a single point and developing concentration and bringing your mind back when it wanders, you're like celebrating when it wanders. Oh, I'm thinking now, whatever, or maybe I'm worrying or I'm planning or whatever it is. And then, oh, I'm feeling my sits bones in the seat, or I have this really strange ache in my body that I never noticed before. Or you experiencing an emotion. Maybe you're feeling some sadness or you're feeling some anger or whatever you're feeling. Little caveat on the feeling part is never say I am and you're feeling. It's not who you are, it's an experience. So I'm either feeling sad or am I experiencing sadness, but not I am sad, because we don't want to label you, because labels imply permanence and nothing is permanent. Emotions are energy in motion. They get to stay in motion. It's when we resist them and we fight them that they get stuck and cause the inner clutter. So we don't want any more inner clutter accumulating, right? Enough of that accumulating over the years. No more accumulating the inner clutter. So letting your mind just go, your attention go to whatever's showing up in the moment. Maybe there's a plane flying overhead. Maybe someone's cooking something that smells really freaking good and you're like, you're smelling it. Like that's the present moment. You're acknowledging whatever is in the moment, whether it's a body ache, a sensation, a thought, an emotion, a sound, a smell. If you're doing it with your eyes open, what you're seeing, maybe a hummingbird flies by. I've had hummingbirds like literally fly like right in front of my face. It's like, oh, okay, that's the present moment. Yeah, what's happening in the present moment? It's like being in the moment, allowing the moment to be exactly as it is. So I'm going to take you on a little guided allowing the now practice. You don't need to do this for more than 5 minutes. If 5 minutes seems too long, you can start with 2 or 1. It's not about the amount of time. The secret sauce is your willingness to do it. I've had many clients, many private clients that work with me privately that fight me and are like, I don't see how this is going to work. They do it anyway. And then they start talking about, oh, well, I cleaned out the junk drawer. I'm like, oh, you did? Really? You spontaneously started decluttering, but allowing the now doesn't work? And then they start to get it. Okay. So you can be sitting there doing this practice, like cursing me up and down. What the hell is she talking about? How is doing this for 5 minutes going to get me anything? How is this going to clear the clutter that's been accumulating for however many years? Whatever you're thinking, just let it be. You can like be mad at me. You can be cursing me, but the secret sauce is your willingness to actually do it. When you become willing to actually do it, the magic happens. You can't stop it because it's the principle of correspondence. It's a freaking law and it's indisputable. So when you're willing to actually do it, that's when the magic happens. And here's the other thing. For my analyzers out there, you cannot do this wrong. There is no doing this practice wrong, no matter what's happening in the moment, whether the 5 minutes goes by and you have no idea where the hell you've been, you don't remember noticing anything. None of that matters because the magic is in your willingness. The secret is in your willingness to look. Remember, all clutter accumulates because of an unwillingness to look. And so it's your willingness to do this process, whether it's for 60 seconds, 90 seconds, or the full 5 minutes. It's all I'm asking is 5 minutes. How many people have 5 minutes in the day where they could just do this practice? Right? I mean, how many people scroll on Facebook for hours throughout the day? If you accumulate, you ever put the time thing on your phone where you can track how much time you spend on each app? It's pretty scary when you see how much time you actually spend on social media, if you want to get honest with yourself. So there's plenty of time in a day to find 5 minutes. And if you're like, I don't have the time, you can do what I call habit stacking. You can do this while you're brushing your teeth. You can do this while you're taking a shower. You can do this while you're washing the dishes. I have a client who was doing this while she was breastfeeding her babies, being present within the moment while she was breastfeeding. So there's always a way to find the 5 minutes. It's about your willingness to do it. And again, if 5 minutes seems too long, just meet yourself where you are and start where you can. Start with 60 seconds, start with 120 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever works for you. Meet yourself where you are and start. Become willing to look and the magic will happen. It's not about the amount of time. Okay, so who's ready to try it out? Who wants to have the allowing the now experience? Yes. All right, for those of you that are off camera because I can't see you, if any of you are driving, please don't close your eyes, okay? If anybody's driving, no closing your eyes. I don't want to be responsible for you crashing. Keep your eyes open. You can pay attention to the road. All right. And for those of you that I can see, I see none of you are driving, so we will get started. So if you feel comfortable, you just want to, and here's the great thing about this is there's no rules. Okay. Any rules that you put on it are your own. I have no rules. There are no rules. You can sit cross-legged. You can sit slouched. You can sit however you want. I recommend sitting with your legs and arms uncrossed so that you're in an open position, but there's no right or wrong. Okay. I recommend that you close your eyes so you can be present inside, but there's no right or wrong. A lot of times I do my practice outside with my morning coffee and I'm watching the birds. My eyes aren't closed. Okay. So get into a comfortable position. If you want to have your arms and legs uncrossed, great. If you don't, great. There's no right or wrong. And just get comfortable and close your eyes and just turn your attention to your breathing. Just notice your breath as it enters and leaves your body. And begin to notice whether you're breathing through your nose or your mouth. Again, no right or wrong, just noticing. And with your mind's attention, just following your breath and noticing where it goes in your body. Noticing where you feel it. And allowing it to be exactly as it is. There's nothing to change. There's nothing to fix. Nothing is broken. And begin to let your attention wander to whatever's calling it. Maybe there's a sound, like I have a plane flying overhead right now. Maybe you're feeling your sits bones in the chair. Maybe you're thinking that I'm freaking crazy for making you do this. Maybe you're feeling an emotion. Whatever's calling your attention, just notice it. Just allow it to be. You can even get playful and be like, oh, I see you. There you are, sadness, or there you are, racing mind. I see you. Allowing whatever's coming up in the moment that wants your attention. Just notice it. Again, there's nothing to change. There's nothing to fix. Nothing is broken. You are not broken. You are absolutely whole and complete, and everything is perfect. Allowing your mind to be like whack-a-mole. What's popping up? What wants your attention? What is asking for you to pay attention? Become willing to look. Allowing your attention to go wherever is being called. What wants your attention right now? What's showing up? Allowing it to be exactly as it is. When you're ready, take a nice deep breath in and let it out. One more deep breath in and let it out. And when you feel complete, go ahead and slowly open your eyes. I didn't lose everybody. Everybody's still alive. You survived. So we all know that allowing the now isn't going to kill you, right? We have proof. You just survived 5 minutes of allowing the now. You did 5 minutes. I know it went by really quick, didn't it? 5 minutes is like boom, boom, boom. How many people feel they can do that on their own? Right? Yeah. No excuse. 5 minutes is all it takes, or even less. I had a client start with 2 minutes. She bought the timer. She literally bought sand timers, a 2-minute sand timer and a 5-minute sand timer to build herself up. And now she doesn't use a timer and she does it for like 10 minutes. You don't have to do more than 5. All I ever did was 5. So there was a period of time where I stopped doing this practice while I was in my toxic relationship, as I still had lots of inner clutter I was clearing. And I shut my light down for someone else. And for 6 years, I stopped doing this practice. And after 6 years, come 2013, I found myself wanting to get off the planet again. I was like, okay, like I had a moment of truth. I'm like, I'm either going to end my life right now and be done with it and just come back in another body and start all over again, or I'm going to do whatever it takes to experience my birthright, which I know is to thrive in every area of my life. And I was not thriving in any area of my life at that time. I was overweight. I was miserable at my job. I was in a toxic relationship. I didn't have the financial abundance that I wanted. It wasn't going the way that I wanted it. And so I recommitted to doing this practice for 5 minutes a day. Okay. This is it, 5 minutes a day. And when I was with my ex, we lived in a studio, and the only door that closed was the door to the condo and the door to the bathroom. We literally took the door off the closet to create more space because it was that small. So there wasn't even a closet to go sit in. It was either the bathroom or leave the house. Okay. And so what I did to get my 5 minutes to myself was I just went to work 5 minutes early and I sat in my car and I did this practice in my car. Okay. Within 6 months, I manifested a $50,000 check that created the space for me to take time off. And it was while I took that time off that the idea formed to launch an organizing business. And in 2014, I used that $50,000 to launch my business, and I haven't looked back. That's just one of the benefits of this practice. Okay. After, it still took another 6 years to unenmesh myself from that toxic relationship. It takes what it takes, right? The vibration had to raise high enough for me the gap had to get big enough for us to finally separate. But when it did, my life skyrocketed. And I think a lot of you have been with me for a while. In 2019 is when I actually left my ex-wife. And shortly after that is when I got the spot on the show Hoarders. I was on the show Hoarders. By June of 2020, I became an international best-selling author by contributing to a book. I was a contributing author to a book that went international bestseller. I was then offered a TV show. I have a digital TV show called The Mel Mason Show, starting to record second season now. I'd taken a little hiatus from it, but have a digital TV show. I wrote my own book in 7 weeks. That book, Freedom from Clutter, was written in 7 weeks. And then I joined another series of books based on the Think and Grow Rich principles. That's a 13-book series. 8 of them have come out already. And so that's like 8 bestsellers right there. So I'm now like a 9-time best-selling author. It just keeps getting better and better. And then when COVID hit and money dried up, I manifested a $20,000 I got the economic injury and disaster loan that allowed me to keep going in my business. And I mean, it's just, I can't keep up with all the shifts and shit that happens in my life. Like those who've been following me, like I just trained for 8 months and completed the Kauai Marathon, only to find out that it's the 4th hardest marathon in the world that our coach told us after the fact. So even Kenyans have dropped out of this race. They were brought in by a coach to take 1st and 2nd place, and they dropped out of it, not this particular year, but in previous years. So if the Kenyans can't run it, but I can finish it, I'm feeling pretty damn good. But all of that comes from this practice, the being willing to make space in my life for myself and to show up and to be consistent, right? If we're not consistent about things, we don't get the results. And so the allowing the now also allows you to be consistent. So All right, we're going to take a quick little bio break before we actually dive in. I'm sure you all might have to go to the bathroom, but we also want to make sure that you have everything you need. So you want to have your little square foot that you're going to work on, whether you're going to go walk away and put a headset in. If you're not going to be on camera, you want to have your headset in so you can be over in the area that we're working on. You want to have containment for donation, recycle, trash, and if you're dealing with paper, you want to just have either containment for shred or have a pile for shred. And then you want to just have any cleaning supplies you're going to need. If you're dealing with a bookcase or a surface, you're going to want to be able to wipe it down. If you're moving a box off the floor and it's been there for years, you're going to want to be able to vacuum, whatever it is. If it's a box and you're going to break it down, you want to have what you need to break it down after. But it is almost 11:36, so we'll come back at 11:41, gather everything that you need, and I will see you back here at 11:41, and we will dive into the 7 steps. Less than 60 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I'm just responding to a message in the chat. Hang on just a second. Oops, if I can type. Okay. Deborah, I saw your message. I just responded back to you. Originally, it came out, there was a confirmation email that originally came out whenever you first purchased. The link is in that one. The only link that came out with the emails from last night to today was the link for the Zoom. But if you are not able to find it, just shoot me an email. I put it in the chat, info@decluttering-spaces.com as a direct message to you to remind me so I don't forget to send it to you, because I don't want to forget to send it to you after I get off this call and move right into another call after this. So make sure I do send it to you. All right, who's ready to actually touch their stuff and dive in? This is going to be a first. Super excited to do this with you all as a group, take you through this process, be available for your questions and support. Awesome, you're going to change your task, Jennifer. You get to do whatever you want to do. You're not stuck doing any, just because you said something that you were going to do, you can change your mind, because everybody knows me. You get to do you, boo. You do you, boo. You choose what works for you. I'm not attached. I'm just here to support. All right, so what we're going to go over now is a process that I developed as a result of getting through my own clutter. Now, caveat, what I want to share here is I'm not attached to you doing it my way. This is just a way that I figured out as a result of getting through my own clutter that takes away the stress and overwhelm. Take what works for you and leave the rest. You can create it and do it however you want. You're going to find your own way. And when you find your own way and you tweak it, do you understand that that makes me freaking happy? I love seeing you take what I share with you and tweak it and make it your own, because that's when it becomes real for you. When you can make it your own, you will implement it, because there's no right or wrong. There's just finding a way that works for you. This is what I found as a result of getting through my own clutter. This is a step-by-step process that I developed to take the stress and overwhelm out of the process. It is not the right way. It is not the wrong way. It is not the only way. It is just a way that I developed as a result of using allowing the now and being present for my own experience. So please know that you don't have to follow this step by step, word for word. Take what works, leave the rest, find your own way, and that will make me super happy. All right, so what I'm going to share with you today is a 7-step process called the 7 steps to manage overwhelm and organize any space. So when you learn how to do this process on one little square foot at a time, you will then be able to use that on those larger and larger spaces like the pantry, the closet, the garage, those areas that you're like, that room that you can't walk into. You have no idea how to start. You open the door, you could barely open the door all the way. You probably can't even open the door all the way. You're going to be able to tackle those areas because you're going to learn this skill set and do it one step at a time, 1 square foot at a time. And as you do 1 square foot, you make space and the door opens. Then you do another square foot and you can walk into the room a little bit more. And then you do another square foot and you can walk in a little bit more, right? And so that's how you do it, 1 square foot at a time. So, all right, so I'm going to say what the 7 steps are, and then we're going to walk through them together. I'm going to answer your questions as you're doing this step-by-step process. I'm going to be talking. I'm not dealing with stuff so that I can focus on what you guys are doing. We are a small enough group that you can just come off mute if you have a question, so that you don't have to do the digital hand raising. You know, if you talk over someone, just be respectful, let the person go, and then just speak next. We're a small enough group that we can do that at this point. So, all right. So the 7 steps are preparation, like with like, fresh start, decision time, homeward bound, finish the loose ends, and form the habit. All right, so preparation, pretty much done most of it already, but who knows what the first part of preparing to get organized is? Anybody want to take a guess? Just come off mute and yell it out. Come on, you guys know me by now. Come off mute, I can't hear you.
Choose the square foot.
What before that? Little 3-letter acronym. Secret sauce. The keys to the kingdom.
Allowing the now.
Yeah.
Boom! Ding, ding, ding. Yes. Allowing the now, whether you're doing a 5-minute session or you just take a couple breaths and get present for a moment, allowing the now is always first. Okay. Then you're going to choose whatever area you're working on. You've all decided what square foot you're going to tackle today, what you're going to be focusing on. Then you gather any of the supplies that you're going to need, which is your containment for donation, trash, recycle, shred, and then any cleaning supplies. So that covers the preparation step. We're all prepared. We're all ready to go, right? Now let's get into the fun stuff. All right. So step 2 is like with like, and I want you to just have this mantra like in your head. The whole idea about decluttering and organizing is in order to be organized, like things get to be with like things, right? You can't have like things over here and like things over here. If they're separated, they're not organized, right? So throughout your entire house, the idea is to get like with like over time. So just, you want to have like with like over time. So let's get that in our head. So like with like first. So whether you're dealing with a surface or you're dealing with stuff, it's like with like. Now, for those of you that are dealing with paper, this is going to be a little different for you, okay? Instead of like with like first, because you don't want to sort out all these categories of paper in front of you because you might not keep most of them. So that's just a waste of time and energy. What you're going to do first, if you're dealing with a stack of paper right now, is you're actually just going to take one piece at a time and you're going to look at it and decide whether you're keeping it or not. And if you don't know whether you should keep it or not right now, you're keeping it. You don't have to know. You don't have to throw something away that you're going to regret later. Okay. So at this point of the process, you're going to look at one piece of paper at a time and decide whether you're keeping it or not. If you're keeping it, it goes in a little, you'll just start a keep pile. If you're not keeping it, decide whether you want it can be just recycled or you need to shred it. Okay. So for those of you dealing with paper, your steps are going to be a little reversed. Okay. But for those of you that have stuff that's a conglomeration of things like a box or a surface, what you want to do is one item at a time, grab the item, and you're going to think in general categories. Okay, you want to sort things out like with like. I like to sort by room, whether it belongs in the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, the bathroom, the bedroom. I like to sort by rooms. You can sort by use, whatever makes sense for you. But the whole purpose of doing this like with like is to remove everything from the box or the surface to get that space clear in an orderly fashion. How many have like taken the whole box or just taken the whole surface and thrown it on a pile or ripped out your entire closet and thrown it on the bed? Anybody ever do that?
Anymore.
Yeah, right. That's pretty overwhelming, right? So we want to just orderly fashion, remove everything and put it into general categories. Like if you have a bunch of office supplies, like I just have a general like office pile. And then when you get to this category later, you can sort more specifically, but you want to keep it super general for now, because the idea is to remove everything in an orderly fashion so you can have that clean, clear space to put things back on. And once you get everything sorted, you can, if you got interrupted, if life happened, something happened with the kids, or you had to go do something, instead of like throwing it all back in the box or shoving it all back in the closet, you could contain each category and put it away neatly and then come back to it later, dealing with one category at a time. So one item at a time, look at it and decide what category it is for you. If you're going to use rooms, does it go in the bedroom? Does it go in the bathroom? And just start little piles of those categories just around you, so you can just keep sorting. but only do one item at a time unless it's multiples of the same item. So like you got a bunch of paper clips or a bunch of pens, you can pull those all out at once. If you, it's a bunch of the same. One of the best things that you can do to create the most space is if like, most things have paper in them. Paper is part of the category. Like there's always papers, right? Whether they're little sticky notes or they're little folded pieces of paper or receipts or something, paper is always there. So one of my favorite things to do is get all the paper first. Like grab all the paper that you can and put it in a pile first. And then that creates so much space right there, especially if you're dealing with like a desk surface or a nightstand. It's like once you clear all the paper, you're like, oh, there's not really that much stuff there because all the paper's gone. So you got a little stack of paper and then you sort the other things that you have. So one item at a time, just sort into general categories and have those general categories out in front of you. Is everybody doing this or are you just listening to me? You come off mute. You guys can be off mute. I can't hear you. You got to come off mute.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Yeah, I was listening to get the directions first. Then are we supposed to be doing it?
Yeah, so you're just doing it now.
Oh,
Sorry about
okay.
that. So we're doing this now, like while we're doing this. Yep. Yeah. So get your start sorting into your general categories. Yep. Get your sort on, like with like. Those items like with like, general categories. One strong suggestion that I have here is you want to, as you're sorting, begin making decisions about what you're keeping and letting go of, unless you're doing paper. That's a totally different issue, okay? You're doing the decision-making process first. But if you're sorting a bunch of stuff out of a box or off a shelf, highly recommend making any decisions about what you're keeping or letting go of at this point. You don't want to combine the decision-making process, okay? So just sort, you'll come back and make the decisions later. The only exception to that rule is if it's a piece of trash and you know you're throwing it away, it's going in the trash, you don't have to have a trash pile, okay? You can just put it in the trash bag. That's really the only exception. But again, find your own way. If that doesn't work for you, you do whatever works for you. This is just what worked for me. So sorting into general categories, get everything sorted out into these little categories in front of you. And I'll give you a couple more minutes to do that before we move on to step 2. If you're not done sorting everything out of the box or off the surface before we move on to the next step, you can just pause where we're at and come back later and deal with the rest of it. We'll just deal with whatever you do get through in the moment right now. And then, does anybody have questions or comments? Like, this is just open time to chat, ask questions, get support. So you guys can be off mute and get in the support that you need. But just remember to come off mute, because if you're not near your camera, I can't hear you. How's everybody doing?
Working on papers.
Yeah, so with papers, one thing I'll say about paper is only deal with 1 inch at a time. If you have like a large stack of papers, I forgot to mention this, just take 1 inch and deal with 1 inch of paper at a time. Come back to the rest of it after, just deal with 1 inch at a time. Paper gets very tedious and very overwhelming really quickly.
True.
So yeah, so you want to just 1 inch at a time. And if you have a lot of paper to get through, I actually recommend like working on paper for a little bit, but then going and doing something else, like taking a break from paper. Because I've had clients that like just did paper for days and days and days and like totally got burned out because there was just so much paper to get through. So again, you don't want to set yourself up to fail and burn yourself out. You really just want to make it manageable and achievable. So a little bit at a time goes a long way, and it'll make you want to actually come back and do it. You don't want to do paper for days and days and days, because then you're not going to want to do it anymore. Okay.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah. You
And
don't
I
want to
don't
burn
like it.
yourself up. Yeah. It gets really tedious really quick. So you want to spice it up and have some fun, do some easy things. And you definitely want to make sure that after we're done today, that you do something nice for yourself. You get to reward yourself. Whenever you're putting your time and your effort in to doing this, make sure that you celebrate the wins. You celebrate you, whether it's, whether it's like me, I personally like to take myself for an ice cream. I go out of ketosis for my ice cream. I just went last night. Whether it's taking a bath, reading a book, just sitting outside and listening to the birds, like something that you enjoy. It doesn't have to involve money, doesn't have to involve you going anywhere. Just do something to acknowledge you and celebrate you. For the win of being willing to look, being willing to do the work. All right, how are we doing on the sorting process? We'll give you like, you have a question, Maya?
Not really a question. You just said how you're doing, and I'm just cleaning off the dust because everything in this box, the box has been open, so it's all anything. So now I'm just cleaning, and I'm noticing some of my things, like my hair dryer has like this weird sticky film on it, and I can't figure out how to get it off. I've got the Goog on it right now. I think it's working, but I don't know if you have any tips when like
you have any rubbing alcohol pads?
Oh yeah,
that might work.
Okay,
rubbing alcohol works on everything. All right, are we ready to move on to step 2?
Maybe. Okay.
So just stop where you are for the sorting process. We'll just deal with what you've actually got sorted for now, and then whatever you didn't finish, you can come back and finish later. But we've done preparation. We've done like with like. Step 3 is fresh start. So Maya just touched on this a little bit. She's cleaning some stuff. So fresh start is number 1. There's 2 decision-making processes in this step-by-step process. One, deciding what category something belongs in, and the other is deciding whether you're keeping it or letting it go. You want to take a break between those 2 decision-making processes. Decision fatigue is a real thing. You see high like functioning people like have the same wardrobe every day, like they don't make the decision about what they're wearing because you only have so many decisions you can make a day. And so it's really important to not combine the decisions, because that's where the overwhelm really starts to come in. If you, what the tendency is like, you'll be, say you have a box of stuff and you take an item out, and instead of sorting it, you're deciding whether you're keeping it or letting it go, right? Well, you don't get to see any cumulative process if you've like decided on 10 things and you start feeling overwhelmed. You look at the box and you don't see that you've gotten anywhere. But when you sort first, and then you come back after and start making decisions, you'll get to see the progress and you won't get overwhelmed because you're breaking it into manageable steps and you're not deciding what category something is and whether you're keeping it or not all at the same time. You're not confusing them. That's where some of the overwhelm comes from. So taking the mental break between the 2 decision-making processes, and now you're going to take you're going to do this now while I'm saying it. You're going to take your cleaning supplies and either clean off the surface you were working on, break down the box that you were working on, or whatever it is you need to create the clean, clear space to put stuff back to. That's what you're going to do during this process. So that's what fresh start is. It's really the mental break between the 2 decision-making processes and just time to clean and create the clear, clean space for you to put things back in. And also just a moment to acknowledge yourself for your willingness to do this and the progress that you've made so far. Oh, the rubbing alcohol one worked, Maya? Awesome, love it. And you can just come off mute and say it. Like, we're small enough that you guys can just doing this. This is interactive, so you can feel free to just talk, okay?
Yeah, I was just writing that there's this stuff called Citrus Solve, that when you have things stuck on your waste baskets, those terrible tags that you could never scrub off.
Yes.
Or labels, you get most of the label off of glass, but the rest of it is incredible stuff. The only thing is when you have a real cheap plastic and you try to do it, it's like smears everything around. But for most things, even on paper, like a book cover, it even works on that, and it doesn't make a mess on the book cover. It doesn't ruin your book.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really
That's
good
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, because rubbing alcohol will definitely destroy the book cover.
Oh no,
So
this
that's
doesn't
great.
do it. I mean, be real
That's
gentle
great.
with it, but you could take, like, if you pull a sticker off and it's like the paper's still there, it works.
Put that in the chat for people.
I will.
Awesome. I never heard of that. Citrus elf. Because yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, I think it's spelled like that. It's awesome.
Oh, cool. Awesome. 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 I love learning new things. Learn new things every day. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So once we're done with fresh start, step 3, now it's time to make the decisions. It's decision time. So whatever categories you have in front of you, just take a look. And you want to start with what's easiest first. For those of you that you were doing paper, now you're going to take your keep pile that you've decided you're keeping, and this is where you're going to do your like with like. So you're going to sort the papers that you're keeping into general categories, whether it be, home insurance, stuff for the car, whatever your categories are, taxes, whatever your paper categories are, and only you know what they are by looking at them. You're going to sort now at this point. And so stop making decisions about what you're keeping and letting go. Just deal with what you've kept so far and sort into your general categories. Get yours sorted. So that will be your next step if you're handling paper. Decision time for you all that have different categories in front of you. What you want to do here is look at the categories that you have in front of you and just take a look at what out of all these categories is going to be the easiest for me to make decisions on first. Because we want to start with what's easy and we want to build on that. So you build those muscles, right? We want to start with the easy weights and then graduate up to the heavier weights, right? So starting with one category at a time, I highly recommend you don't bounce from category to category. You want to complete one category at a time for many reasons, but 2 of them being, one, how many people have a hard time finishing what they start? You start a project and you don't seem to finish it, right? So this is completion energy, finishing what you start, one category at a time, right? So it's finishing what you start. And then when you actually complete one category, you create space. So you actually get to see the space that you're creating. You see what you had start shrinking and you create more space. So you get to see the space that gets created, and then you get to have the cumulative results as you go from one category to the next. Where if you just took one item from one category and then you went to another category, you're not going to create space right away. So if you're not starting to create space right away, you might start to get discouraged and be like, screw this, and throw it all back and not finish. Okay. So we want to have the completion energy by completing one category at a time. So you'll make decisions about one category at a time. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up one item out of one category and you're going to stick with this one category, but pick one item up. For those of you that I can see you on, 2 questions, not clear on what you mean, right? When we
Don't deal with that now. That's
okay. Okay, I'm not understanding it. So if you could get a little more clarity on that, because I don't understand your question either. But so item at a time, you're going to look at it. Decide whether you're keeping it or letting it go. If you're keeping it, it just stays in the keep pile. I'm going to just set it down right next to the pile that you're working on. That will become your keep pile for this category. If you're letting it go, the only other decisions you need to make are, is it usable? Can it be recycled? If it's usable, can it be donated? Put it in the donate pile. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen with it. If it has use, it can be donated. So just donate it. Let somebody else get the use out of it rather than throw it away. For those of you that are like, oh, I don't want to let stuff go because I don't want to throw it away. You're not throwing it away. You're donating it so somebody else can get the use out of it. Okay. So if it's usable, donate it. If it's not usable, then is it trash or can it be recycled? That's it. If it's paper, it's shredding if you want to shred it or not. Okay. So look at the item. If you hang on to it for more than 5 seconds and are not making a decision, just keep it for now. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. There's no judgment about what you're keeping. It's your willingness to look that matters. Becoming willing to look. So decide whether you're keeping it or letting it go, and then is it donatable or does it need to go to the trash or the recycle? And then repeat, same category, next item. Okay. I'll give you a few minutes to get through the categories that you've come up with. Just one item at a time. And if you guys are having questions, you want support, please let me know. Just come off mute, talk to me so I'm not here alone. Let me in the loop of your process. How's it going?
So I have a question about this, the donate, shred, trash or recycle. That's decision time.
Yes.
We're actually putting it then in containers or piles to either put it away or get rid of it.
Yeah, so you'll have your keep pile of what you're keeping, and then if you're not keeping it, if
Yeah.
it can be used, it can go to donate. If it can't be used, then you're deciding, do I have to trash it or can it be recycled?
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I missed what Fresh Start is. I'm thinking
okay.
I heard everything, but I don't have that distinction for that stage.
Yeah, so Fresh Start is simply, it's two things really. It's a break between two major decision-making processes in the step by step. So you're deciding what category something is, and then you're deciding whether you're keeping it or letting it go. So Fresh Start is like a mental break between those two decisions, because decision fatigue is real. The other thing it's a time for you to create clean, clear space to return any items to. So like if it's a bookshelf or a nightstand, you want to wipe the dust off, get it clean so that anything you're putting back is going back on a clean surface. If it was a box you were emptying, you might want to break down the box. If the box was on the floor and had been there for a long time, you might want to vacuum where the box was when you're done. So just creating the clean, clear space, and then having the mental break between the two decision-making processes. And then also it's a moment for you to just celebrate what you've done so far.
Yes, celebration is always important.
Yes.
No matter how small it is.
Yeah, there's no small wins. They're all wins.
Right.
Wins. We celebrate all the movement up the field, all the forward momentum. We celebrate it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Who else has comments, questions, or support while we go through this part? How's the decision-making process going? This is fun doing this together live. Never done this before with a group of you, just going through your stuff. Come off mute so I can hear you. I don't want to be talking to myself.
I don't know why this
with
is,
me.
I don't know why this is so much better than doing it on my own. I guess I'm not feeling alone. It's like writing in my writers group. We're all on mute for 20 minutes at a time, 3 times over an hour. And it just makes a huge difference.
It's like a party.
Yeah, we're having a declutter party. I love it. That's what I'll call it next time, the declutter party.
I feel like I have a support group, even though you don't see that I'm sorting through all these papers. I still feel like I've got a support group going. It's kind of cool.
How is it going through the papers?
Pardon?
How is it going through the papers?
I'm dwindling them down. There's a lot to go.
Are you doing 1 inch at a time though? Let's focus on the wins. Are you doing 1 inch at a time?
1 inch at a time.
Okay, good.
The rest is in my bag to be pulled out later after I get the 1 inch.
Yeah, 1 inch at a time.
Do you have any key question to ask? Like I'm looking at this item and I guess, is it just, do I want to keep it or what's the key question?
Yeah, so great question. I love that you asked that. So you get to ask yourself a lot of questions. Like you get to be honest with yourself. Like, what's the likelihood that I'm really going to use this, right? If I've been hanging on to it for a long time. Another good question is, do I love it? Like, do I love this thing, whatever it is? Because if you don't love it, are you really going to use it? And being honest with the fact that, okay, I've had it for 6 months and I haven't used it yet. Am I really going to use it? And here's the thing, this is what I love to say about things that we hang on to that we don't use, right? So we all know, we talked about everything is energy, right? Well, everything is created with a purpose. Books are meant to be read, clothes are meant to be worn, kitchen utensils are meant to be cooked with, whatever it is, it has a purpose. If you hang on to it for some day, but you're not using it, you're literally stifling its purpose, which then blocks the flow of abundance from coming into your life. So if you're hanging on to something for some day, you might need it, you might use it, but you haven't, And the likelihood of you really using it is, if you get honest with yourself, slim to none. Let it go and trust that if you ever needed it again, the abundance would be there for you to buy it, to read it. Have I let go of books that I wanted to read again? I had the money to rebuy them. Not a big deal. It's not a waste because somebody else got the book that I read and I wasn't hanging on to it, and somebody else got to read it. And then I got to generate more income for the author by buying the book again. A giving and a receiving and a giving and a receiving and abundance on all levels, right? Does that support, Maya?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Just being willing to be honest with yourself. Like, how long have I been hanging on to this? Am I really going to use it? Am I really going to do that thing? And do I love it? Like, if you don't, especially when it comes to clothes, like if you like are hanging on to something, but you don't love the way you feel when you wear it, are you really going to wear it? You're not. You're just not. We wear 20% of our clothes 80% of the time.
2%.
It's that like 80-20 rule. But yeah, probably more like 2%. Like 2%, depending on how many clothes you have, right? Let's get honest. I'm actually going to help a woman who has like, couldn't even count the number of totes that are full of clothes that can't even be accessed, that are never being worn, that are all like super organized by size, but we get to go purge through probably at least 50 totes, never mind the color-coded closet stuff that's like complete for a VIP day immersion that I'm going to be doing.
I don't have 50, but I have a lot of totes of clothes, different sizes.
Yeah. And so all of those clothes that you're hanging on to for someday, whether they're goal clothes to get into or whatever it is, clothes that are too big for you, you don't want to grow into them, right? Let that shit go. But if you're hanging on to clothes that you're not wearing, you're actually stopping somebody else from being able to use them, and you're stifling their purpose, which is to be worn. And then you block the flow of abundance from coming to your life. When you can just start letting stuff go that you're not using, and you can get honest, you open the flow to abundance to come in your life. Financial abundance, joy, happiness, your birthright, like in every area of your life, you start creating space for magic to happen. But it starts by being willing to let go. What was that?
What if it's clothes that are too small right now, but you really, really love them and you want to get into them? It's a goal.
They're goal clothes. So how long have they been goal clothes?
Ooh.
Yeah, right. And when you get to that goal weight, you get to celebrate yourself by buying new clothes.
Uh-huh.
But you're hanging on to clothes for someday that, if you get to be honest with yourself, for however long they've been goal clothes, not to say that it's not going to happen, and you're stifling their purpose, and you're literally blocking your ability to release the weight by hanging on to them.
What about keeping, I'm not letting go completely.
You don't have to.
What about keeping one, even though you may have 4 or 5 that you really like? What about keeping one and having it hanging in your room as inspiration?
Yeah, frame that shit, put it on the wall. Let that be your vision board, right?
Right. Or at least if you haven't gotten down to it by a certain set date, then get rid of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you got a bunch of gold clothes, maybe keep 1 or 2 and get rid of the rest. Keep a couple of your favorites, put them up somewhere, frame them, make it so that it's a goal for you, and then declare that you will fit into these clothes by such and such a date, and if not, then you let them go.
Okay, I can do that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Lots of questions, comments. This is open. This is like the whole point of this is to be sharing, asking questions, getting support, being off mute. You're all off mute. I'm talking to myself. I talk enough, you guys. I've been talking for over 2 hours.
But you
How's
have
everybody
so
doing?
much good to say.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Is everybody pretty much done the deciding part of the step decision? We got through the categories. Are we good to move on?
Can I ask a quick question?
I don't know. Can you?
Yes, I can.
Yes, you can.
Are you recording this and are we gonna have access to play it back to watch?
Yes, it is being recorded, and as for purchasing the class, you have lifetime access to the replay. Here's the deal to it though, because I don't house it anywhere. You are going to get a link to download it. You need to download it to your computer like right away because it doesn't stay on the server that long. So the way that you get lifetime access is by downloading it.
Okay, thank you.
But you'll get an email later on today with the replay link. All right, so just in the interest of time, we are going to move on. So whatever you haven't finished yet, that's okay. You can come back to it later. We'll just deal with the categories that you have gotten through, okay? So there's decision time. It's making all the decisions. Now it's time for homeward bound. So this is where you're going to get your steps in, right? This is where you get to get some steps. I saw your face, Maya. Love that. Okay. So homeward bound is actually putting things away. And remember what I said earlier, it's all about like with like. We want to get like things with like things. So first and foremost, what I want you to know is when you go put something away into another area, more than likely there's going to be clutter there that you are going to want to address. It might not even fit where you want to put it, okay? But the idea is to get like with like. So even if you get it in the same room, you're getting it in the area so that when you get to that room, you'll have like with like, and you'll be able to get the room set up the way that you want it. So know that you're going to be putting things away probably where you're going to want to organize some more, but you're not going to start tearing anything out of that cabinet or that closet today. You're just going to put the things away because we're only going to deal with the square foot that we're dealing with right now. Okay. So you're going to go starting with things that you already know where they go. Because what do? We start with what's easiest first. Okay. So starting with what's easiest first, go put things away where you know one category at a time. Go put the things away that you know where they already go. And unless you can juggle and you can take multiple categories at a time, but you know, just do what's simple and easy. Grab what you can grab. Go put the stuff away where it belongs, where you know it's going to wind up. Don't worry about the fact that that needs to be organized too. Just get the thing, get like with like. Your mantra is like with like throughout the whole house, like with like. Things that belong in the garage, things that belong in the kitchen, things that belong in the bedroom, Like with like, whatever's working, like with like. So for those of you that had paper, you've sorted your paper into your categories. You either already have file folders for your categories, or you're going to file the stuff away that already has folders. Don't worry if those folders have stuff that you need to purge. That's another day. And then you'll put then for the categories that you've come up with that you don't have folders for, you're going to make your file folders so that they have containment, and then you'll label them and then you'll file those away. So for those of you that are dealing with paper, this is where you put the paper away that already has folders that you've created, doing what's easy first, then creating folders for the stuff that you have not created folders for yet. I don't see anybody running. Homeward bound, get that stuff put away. Put it all away. Dealing with what's simple and easy first, what you already know has homes. Getting that stuff put away. And then the stuff that's you're not sure about, you're like, what the hell? What do I do with this? This is where allowing the now comes into practice. This is where you slow down.
Question.
Yeah, do you have a question, Libby?
Yeah, so I'm doing paperwork And
Yeah.
I mean, I have some stuff that I'm, at least keeping for now. So I know it needs to be put away. But then I always end up with a pile of action items, and some of them are related to big projects. Like one of the things I just came across was related to the sale of our house, which I want to go through the file before I dump stuff. So do you have any guidance on when you have action items?
Yeah, so when you have action items, I like to have my clients create a master list of everything that like needs to get done from those action items. Like I need to go through this file. I need to call this person or whatever it is. And then you can still put the folders away, but you put the action item list up somewhere where you can see it. And then from that action list item, you can't do it all in one day. So you want to make it manageable and achievable. You just pick 2 or 3 things a day that you're going to work on and put them in your schedule to actually do them. But you have the master list, so you don't have to keep this stack of stuff out. You know where to find it. You filed it. You just go grab that file folder if that's the task that you're working on, and you can come back to it. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as you do the item on the task list, you get to cross it off and get that dopamine hit for finishing it.
Yeah.
Right? That's my favorite. I love that dopamine hit. Awesome. So getting things put away that you know where they go first. And then when it comes to the stuff that you're not so sure of, what do I do with this? This is where you just slow down and you think about, what do you use it for? So based on what you use it for, that's going to determine the room that it belongs in, So for instance, if it's a rubber spatula, people would use it in the kitchen because it's for baking, right? But someone creative may be using it for art projects, so it might go in their crafting room. So you figuring out what the item is that you use and what you use it for, and based on what you use it for, then getting it put away. Now, when you're putting things away, you also want to think about how often do you use them? Do you use them a lot and they need to be easily accessible so you can get them out easier and you can put them away easier, whatever makes sense. You just think about, if you use it a lot, you want to make it easily accessible. And if it's something that you don't use very often, you can put it up higher or make it a little less accessible. But if you use it a lot, you want to make sure it's easy to get out and easy to put away, because you'll be pissed if you can't get it out and you don't want to put it away. Who wants to put stuff away that's a pain in the butt to put away? You know what I mean? So that's what you want to do when you're thinking of things that you're not sure what to do with, is what do you use it for? So where does it make the most sense for it to live? And then do you use it often or not that often? Like Christmas decorations, they can go up high because they come out once a year, right? But if you're a baker and you got all these kitchen supplies, like utensils and baking supplies, you're going to want them easily accessible if you love to bake, because it's something you're going to do more often. So it's just thinking about what you use them for and how often you use them. And also know that the process of putting things away and finding homes for things is dynamic. You may put something somewhere and realize that that just doesn't work and you want to put it somewhere else. So give yourself the permission to have trial and error. And then life happens, you accumulate new stuff. So then you may get something and you've organized this whole cabinet with this category of stuff. And now you got this new thing and it doesn't quite fit and you got to refigure the whole thing. So you pull everything out and reorganize it or whatever. So just know that it's dynamic and it's ongoing. There's nothing static in the universe. Stasis equals death, just so you know. There's nothing static in the universe. It's constantly moving. Energy is vibrating. Things are vibrating. Things are constantly in motion. So you're always going to have stuff coming in. You're going to be buying things. You're going to be getting rid of things. You're going to make space. As you're purging things, you're going to create space and want to adjust things. So know that it's not a permanent done deal. It's not a one and done. Those of you who are looking for a quick fix, one and done doesn't happen. Not gonna lie, not gonna sugarcoat and candy coat things. There is no one and done here. You're going to keep accumulating things, so you'll keep adjusting, you'll keep moving stuff. As I've over the past few years, as I've released a bunch of weight, I bought a bunch of different clothes. Then when I got into running and I started really loving my body, because I used to like really not like my legs. So I always wore cargo shorts that went down to my knees. Now I can't stand wearing cargo shorts. I'm always wearing like short running shorts because I love my legs now. I would have never worn short running clothes. And now I get rid of all my cargo clothes because I don't wear cargo shorts anymore. Now I have a whole new wardrobe of running clothes instead. So I'm in shorter shorts now that actually show off my legs because I actually like my legs now. Whereas I used to hide them. I'd wear baggy shirts, I'd wear baggy shorts, and you couldn't see my body. Now I'm always wearing tank tops and running shorts. And now I really love my body. So things are going to change. You're going to change. And so as you change, what you have changes, your interests change. You may get an interest in being creative and painting, or you may get an interest in writing or whatever it is. And so then you'll start accumulating stuff for that interest and you'll let go of other things, So some things go away and some things come in. It's just like the tide, it ebbs and flows, right? The tide comes and goes twice a day. Tide comes and goes twice a day. Yeah, Marilyn, do you have a question?
Yeah. So, paper is my folly. And I have so many workbooks where I went to courses and wrote notes, and a lot of it is very valuable. And whenever I read stuff, it always triggers ideas for where I am now in my business. And I think, oh, like, I don't agree with that, or this is my take on it. But I'm wondering, I keep thinking, should I rip it out? And a lot of times I do. I don't really look at it. I need to find those things, put them somewhere, go through them, and then read it, make notes, and write something, or just toss it. But I'm wondering, what do you think about leaving it in the book or ripping it out?
I always would rip them out. And here's what I'll say. Like, I'm a note taker too when I'm in courses. But the honest truth is, do I ever go back and look at the notes? Like, rarely ever. Once in a blue moon, I'll flip through. So I've accepted the fact that I write notes to help like the memory process. And so you might have heard me say this, like my rule of thumb is like, I basically, what I'll do is I stop taking notes in notebooks and I use filler paper now. I use blank filler paper to take my notes when I'm in courses, because I got tired of having all the notebooks. And I could be a notebook whore. Like, I love notebooks. Like, I love the touch, I love the feel. So I stopped buying them, right? Because it's like, then you got to have one notebook for each. Then it's like, I don't like combining subjects in a notebook and finding the information. So if you have a bunch of notebooks, take out the information. But I create a file folder for every workshop that I take or every class that I'm in. And my rule of thumb is I have a rolling file cabinet that's open behind me. They can only fit so many folders. And then I have my 2-drawer file in my closet for my backup business stuff. And then I have my tote that has my taxes in it put away for my business. When that rolling file gets to the point that I can't push the folders anymore, that's when I do my purge. When I purge, the majority of every note that I've ever written from every class since the last time I purged goes, because I never look at it.
Yeah.
It served its purpose while I was in the class, but I don't ever go look at it.
I am an idea hoarder, among other things. And okay, that's great. And and then the other thing is, I have a little file cabinet here, 2-drawer. I haven't really looked in it, and I don't even know how long, so I can't really put anything in it. And I don't even want to. So it's like, talk about how you manage I'm asking you like I don't know. I could figure it out, but I really want to know, what do you say about how do you manage that when you've got dead space that's full? You need to go through it. There are important things in there, and who knows? I don't know. And so when you confront that, do you then put a break on what you were doing, get it organized enough, and then go to where you need to create space so that you have a place to put it, and then go back to the other stuff, or what?
Yeah. So when you're creating your list and you're prioritizing the areas, if you already have file cabinets that you can't put stuff in that need to be purged before you can file new stuff in, the priority would be doing the file cabinet first. before you address and add any more stuff to it. So you get the file cabinet purged. And when you, again, when you're dealing with a file cabinet or paper, it's like 1 inch at a time. So literally what I tell my clients is to grab an inch worth, maybe 2 inches at the max, out of the file cabinet, close the drawer and walk away. Go somewhere else and deal with the paper, deal with what you're see with what you're keeping. And then if, you know, you can work on paper for a couple hours max, before you start getting burned out, but just do it 1 inch at a time. You'll be shocked at how fast you start to get through it. And then when you see what you're keeping, and then it's like stuff that you don't have file folders for, you make new folders for, stuff that you already have folders for, you just add to, and then you put your keep back in the front in the clear space. And then the next time you come, you just keep working behind until you get through the drawers of the filing cabinet. And then you have purged your filing cabinet. And more than likely you'll get rid of 30 to 60%. That was the other thing I forgot to say is once you start looking at all those categories and making your decisions, just because you're willing to look at this stuff, you'll let go of 30 to 60% without even trying. You're like, oh, what was I didn't even know I had that. Oh, I don't need that. Oh, I got 6 of those. Let me get rid of 3 of these. You know what I mean? Like just your willingness to look. Well, and the same with paper. Like you'll have a 2-inch stack of paper and it'll be down to like nothing because it's like, oh, you just don't know what you're hanging on to because you haven't been willing to look. Yeah, 90% of your papers. Yeah, totally, Karen. Yeah. It's like that's what happens. Yeah.
One other thing that is so funny. So I had one cabinet in the garage that had stuff that I filed meticulously and logged and whatever, and I used it 20 years ago. And a lot of it's still relevant, but it's not active now. And I haven't gone out and looked in a long time. So I had my grandkids come over and put each of the drawers in a big container, but it's too heavy for me to carry. But I thought, I think I'm ready now to go through that because it's old. There's very little that's going to be relevant. I don't know what's in there, but if it's really personal and important, I'll keep it. If it's info, that stuff I can definitely let go. And I think that'll support me with some of these other things, like the notebooks from my certification, that there's a lot of good stuff in there. And do I really need to keep that?
Yeah. I mean, are you keeping it just to keep it? Or, I mean, if you're actually going to use it, then yeah, but if it's been sitting in the garage for 20 years, what's the likelihood you're going to use it?
That stuff is going. No, but this one was like 3 months ago, but I took a lot of notes because of the way my coach organized things. I wanted to have that as a model, but I haven't gone back and said, how would I do it? And actually extracted it because I don't have time. I'm on to the next thing. So am I really going to use it? But yeah. And I also appreciate there's some fear. It's funny. There's some kind of fear attachment to stuff, getting rid of stuff, especially like 4 containers of papers. And I haven't looked at them. I just have to make sure I don't throw anything valuable away. And yet I feel that. So I think that's the benefit of allowing the now to see that and see what is that attachment. There's very little I've really gotten rid of. I got rid of a headboard when both my parents died, and I didn't move the headboard, and I wished I had moved that. That's the only thing I regret from giving away. Oh my God, a lot of stuff. Yeah. So but I really appreciate the permission to allow the now and feel how I'm feeling right in the moment. Like, what is my attachment and why is that? Is it because of all the energy I put in, or do I really think there's value there? And my God, every day we have 1 million pieces of data that we can have access to that's new. Do I really need to go back 20 years?
Everything's available on the internet. And here's one thing you did mention the word why. So here's the one good thing about one of my favorite things about like allowing the now in this practice is you don't actually ever have to figure out why you're hanging on to something to let it go. Like that's the most beautiful thing is you don't need to know why. It doesn't fucking matter. Because the truth of the matter is it boils down to attachment and clinging, right? It's just, I'm hanging on to it. Like that notebook of stuff from that class that I took, I never figured out why I was hanging on to it. I would just be like, oh, I'm attached.
Yeah.
I'm attached to this and I'm not ready to let it go yet. That was it. I just acknowledged the attachment. I didn't need to know why. And I eventually let it go. And so You don't have to know why you're hanging on to anything. Why can get you in the weeds. So just be aware that you
Yeah.
don't need to know why. Just acknowledge the fact that you're not ready to let go of it yet if you're not.
Yeah.
That's it. There's
Yeah.
no, I don't need to figure it out. Why? And then that like beating yourself up. Why am I hanging on to this? I shouldn't be hanging on to this. Like, you don't need to know any of that.
Right. Be kind to
You don't-
ourselves. That's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I say that all the time to other people. I'm working on being my own best friend. All the compassion I
Yeah.
have for other people, I'm working on giving it all to myself too. I deserve that. So yeah.
That's the beauty of the allowing the now practice. Is it's the greatest act of self-love you can do for yourself, because you're giving yourself the gift of your presence that you give to everybody else but your damn self. And now you're giving it to you. And the more you give it to, for those of you that are like, I'm too busy, like you don't have enough time to go back to these notebooks, right? I don't have enough time. I'm too busy. Well, the more and more you do this practice, is you're literally making space for you, the more time opens up for you. Like when I was in that toxic relationship and I stopped doing it for 6 years, I took no time for me, not even 5 minutes. Like I was totally in giving. My wife had all kinds of health issues, insomnia, anxiety, depression, like all consuming. And then my job was all consuming. And so I was never taking any time for me. I was just constantly depleting myself till I got to the point that I wanted to get the fuck off the planet. Okay. And so it started with 5 minutes. That's it. Now my schedule revolves around my me time. So you guys know that I go to a climbing gym. My closest climbing gym is an hour and a half away. So I have a 5-hour round trip and I go to the gym when I'm not training for a marathon. So I get to go back again more than once a week, 2 to 3 times a week. Then I was training for a marathon. And then I'm volunteering my time as a staff member for a leadership training, which takes a minimum of 5 hours a week. And I do all that, schedule all that, and then my clients around that. Like you learn, the time just expands. Like I have so much time, like so much time, because I started with 5 minutes. So when you start with a 5 minutes, time expands. You'll begin to make yourself the priority. You'll start scheduling you first. Like I have an hour to myself, never mind driving 5 hours to the gym. Like I did that yesterday, but I have a minimum of an hour to myself in the morning with my morning routine and my coffee and my things like that. Then I go, when I'm not traveling all over the freaking world, I go to my country club and go to the sauna 2 to 3 times a week. And that's a 2-hour adventure, self-care, like just putting me first. And then the rest comes. Like you learn to schedule you first and everything else around. And it's like time. I have plenty of fucking time. I got tons of time. So that's why I can say yes to these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So more time is going to open up. I love it. The greatest act of self-love you can do for yourself is allowing the now. And when you start doing it, you start creating space, and then you just start prioritizing yourself. It'll look like saying no to things. If you're a yes person, and so anytime somebody asks you to do something, you're like, yep, I'll do it. I'll support. I'll be there. And then you're like, fuck, I have no time. Why did I decide to do that? And you're drained and you're resentful, right? Instead, you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm not able to do that this time. I'm gonna say no. You're gonna say no to things. She jumped up, but Katie Lacine was here. That was like one of her biggest things, was that she was saying no to stuff finally, instead of saying yes to all these things. And when you start saying no to commitments, you create all this space, you free up the space. So love it, love it, love it. All right, so homeward bound, getting the things put away that we know where they go first, and then addressing the things that we're not sure of. Once we do that, if you were to keep continuing, if you were to not be done with your session, you would move on to the next square foot, okay? So you would just repeat the process we just did on the next square foot before you move on to the next step. But for time today, we're not going to go do another square foot. So what you would do now is step 6 is to finish all the loose ends. handling the donations, getting them out of the house because they're not donated until they're at the donation center. It doesn't count if they're sitting in your garage, okay? Doesn't count if they stay in your closet. Oh, I donated that. I haven't got to the donation center yet. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't count. I just have a bag going on in my closet, and when it's full, I take it. So you are just making sure that you don't hang on to the donations. If you're going to be working on this regularly, you don't want to be driving to the donation shop every day. So maybe once a week, making a trip. If you're going to be working on this consistently, if you have some big items and some big stuff and you don't want to haul it yourself, a lot of donation companies will come pick up. So make the phone call today to schedule them to come pick it up if that's the case. You know what I mean? Take the action step to get the momentum moving. So get the donations handled, whether you're gonna keep adding to them while you're working for the rest of the week. You can, put them in your garage or put them in your closet, but you get to get onto your calendar and figure out when they're going to the closest donation place to you. So I always go to whatever's the closest to me. When I'm working with clients, wherever I am, it's on my way home, whatever place is closest. Keep it simple. Oh, this has got to go to the Humane Society, and this has got to go to Dress for Success, and this has got to go here. It's not your job to figure out who gets what. The job is to let go and trust, which is to have faith that whatever you call it, God, source, creator, universe, is going to get the items to the people that need them. It's not your job to figure that out. Your only job is to let it go and open up the freaking flow again, right? Stop damming up the flow with hanging on to all this stuff, right? Let's break down the dam. Let's let the floodgates open. Just let go. Get the stuff out the easiest way, whatever's closest. I will make one little recommendation just because of my beliefs. It's totally up to you, but I do not, unless it's absolutely necessary. What is that in the chat? That's interesting. That's a really long link. I do not donate to the Salvation Army. One reason is they preach hate at the pulpit. They're just not a company I support unless I have a client that absolutely wants to donate there. That's my little 2 cents. I'll throw that in. I don't like to support them because they preach hate against gays at the pulpit. So that's just my little 2 cents on that one. The other part of finishing the loose ends is, taking out the trash, taking out the recycle. And if you are dealing with paper and you have some stuff that you want to shred, getting it shredded. If you have a shredder, there's companies that will come shred for you. There's lots of places where you can take the shredding to. Wait till you have a box full, so you only get charged for 1 box if you're taking it somewhere. But if you have a shredder, shred it on your own. If you shred a ton, you will overheat the shredder, so it will cool down when it shuts down. So just know it's not dead. It will burn out, it will overheat. Walk away for 20 minutes, it'll come back on. They do have some lube for the shredder that you can put that will help as well. So if you're using it a lot and you have your own, you definitely want to make sure you maintain your shredder. I've burned quite a few out helping clients. And working in an office, like shredding all the documents at the end of the year kind of thing. So definitely do that. So donations, get those handled, trash, recycle, handling the shredding, and then it's forming the habit. And as you all know, I don't give a rat's ass if you schedule 15 minutes once or twice a week to work on your physical clutter. I want you to get consistent about allowing the now. When you get consistent about allowing the now, the rest of this is going to take care of itself. You're not going to need to schedule time to release your clutter. You're just going to spontaneously start creating space in your life as the corresponding space is happening inside of you. There's no forcing this process, okay? There's no forcing this process. It's going to happen gradually, and know that when you clear off a surface, it doesn't mean it's never going to come back, okay? But as you're raising and you're clearing the space, what starts to happen is, say the surface was like completely covered and you couldn't see any of it, right? And you got it cleared. The next time, you're only going to let it get to a certain point because you can't tolerate it getting to that point anymore. Your level of tolerance shift. So then you do something about it sooner. And then the next time you do something about it sooner. And then the next time you maybe only let a couple pieces of stuff. Like I rent a room. So like my dresser is my credenza. Things are set out all over it throughout the day. And then at the end of the night, things get filed away and put away and organized. But during the day when I'm working, if you saw this, it's like there's paper everywhere. I got stacks of things that I need to deal with and things I need to order. And this is like my station. And then at the end of the day, it gets all picked up. So just know that it's not a one and done. You're not going to just stop accumulating, stop creating clutter. But what happens is your tolerance level for it goes down and you do something about it sooner. Okay. So forming the habit, allowing the now every freaking day. That's it. Allowing the now every day. That's all I ever did to generate the results in my life. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to work on my clutter for 15 minutes once a week. Like it just didn't happen. I just spontaneously started creating order in my life and went from a disorganized mess to someone who loves creating order out of chaos. All right. So 7 steps: preparation, like with like, fresh start, decision time, homeward bound, finish the loose ends, and form the habit. You now will have the recording of going through this in your email later on tonight. Now, let me ask you, how many of you talked about it today, how many of you have a hard time motivating yourself to do this on your own, right? This whole group thing worked out for you. How many of you have a hard time making the decisions and letting shit go? Right? How many of you would like to have an extra pair of hands to help you do the heavy lifting? What if your only job was to sit there and look cute and make decisions? Like your job was to just sit there. You didn't have to worry about lifting anything. Everything was literally brought to you and you only had to make decisions. Am I able to come to Canada yet? Is it open? I can come to Canada. If it's open, then I can come. So we can talk about that. That's what we're going to talk about. If any place that's open for me to travel, then that's what's available to you. So if you would like me to come work with you in person, is it okay if I share with you how that's possible today? Would you like to learn how that's possible today? All right. So one of the things that I offer is what's called a 2-day VIP immersion, where I literally fly to you wherever you are and I come work with you in person. Your only job is to make the decisions. My background is in moving furniture for a living. I do all the heavy lifting. I help you get all the donations taken away. I load it all up. We go take it to donations, whatever needs to happen. And just imagine creating more space than you could ever imagine in your home. Those rooms that you want to get clear, the living room, the dining room, the extra room, you want to have a craft room. Imagine if that could be done in 2 days. Imagine if you could have that done in 2 days. Like, what would that be worth to you? Because that is 100% possible, having me come out and work with you in person. So what it is literally me coming out for 2 days. It's about 10 hours of working together over the course of 2 days. I fly to you and work with you in person. You get the ongoing support and encouragement throughout the process, but your only job is to sit there. Like, you don't have to move a thing. You get to sit there and make all the decisions, because that's the hardest part, you deciding. And then I get to help you make the decisions. We get to have lots of fun with this. We have so much fun when we're doing this. I laugh with my clients the whole time. And then we get to have lunch together both days at whatever restaurant you choose on me. So we get to hang out together too, not just work. So we're going to work, we're going to get space created like you would not believe. And then we're going to get to hang out together and have lunch and just chit chat and have some fun and get to know each other better. And you're also going to get set up with a plan for success to keep going, to keep the momentum going. So for those of you that have participated in this intensive, I've created something special for you. Typically, to get me to come out to you is a $6,000 investment. But because you said yes to you and you showed up here today, you get me in your space for 2 days for $39.97. One-time investment of $39.97 for me to come work with you one-on-one for 2 days. And so I'm going to put the link in the chat. And then I like to reward fast action takers. So we know procrastination is a big thing, right? putting things off. Oh, I'm not going to do it now. Maybe that will work later. Well, I'm going to tell you this, the offer for this price is not going to be here later. So for my fast action takers, and I only have 5 of these, for the first 5 people that say yes, you are also going to get 3 months of private mentorship with me, which is a $3,000 value. And what private mentorship is it's literally you have access to my cell phone 24/7. So you have around the clock support. Imagine being able to just ask me any question you want anytime, to just share wins as they're coming up, ask your questions, whatever it is, having 24-hour access to me, literally having me in your pocket, right? You have the around the clock support. And then based on what your goals are that we set up at the beginning of our work together, you'll have accountability goals. And so you'll have accountability with me on a daily basis or a weekly basis, depending on whatever your goals are, whether it is, doing a lot, say, for example, allowing the now every day. Until that's consistent, you literally will send me a text every day that you've done it, so that I know that you've done it. And if I don't hear from you, you're going to hear from me the next day, so that you don't go off the rails. You get the support you need, you stay on track, and you don't get lost. Like, the whole point is to get you consistent so you can build the skill set, you can get the consistency, and it can become a habit for you. So you get the accountability, the around the clock support, and it's 3 30-minute coaching calls a month. So that, for my first 5 action takers, will get the 3 months of coaching, private mentorship with me thrown in. So the link is in the chat. It is for the first 5 people only to get that fast action bonus. So I come to you, I do all the heavy lifting. We spend 10 hours together creating more space than you can possibly imagine. So those rooms that you want to get done, we can knock that shit out. Like, my gift is to create order out of chaos. Like, I am a space maker. That's what I do. So the link is in the chat. Does anybody have any questions about that, or anybody feeling like that's the right next step for them? Questions? Anybody? No questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
We're not ready to do it, but my mom, who you may remember was with me on the last call, her garage is just stuffed with my dad's old tools and all the stuff. And I'm just like, is that a situation that could be done in 2 days? I mean, it just seems impossible. So I'm just wondering, what's the scope of what can actually happen in 2 days?
So the biggest key of what determines how much can actually get done is how fast the person makes decisions. But I want you just maybe remember something. So if you're not ready to schedule this now, but you know that this is something you want, you don't want to miss up on this pricing. So you actually have a year to schedule your 2 days. It's 2 days back to back. It's not me coming out twice. It'll be 2 days back to back, but you actually have a year before you have to schedule it. So if you're like, I want this, but I'm not ready yet, you'll have a year to actually schedule the date. So don't worry if they're like, oh my God, I'm not ready yet, but you don't want to miss out on this amazing opportunity. Get in now. You can start the coaching right away, so we can get the coaching piece in for the first 5 of you that say yes. But you don't actually have to schedule the immersion for, you have a year to schedule it. So that takes the pressure off. So if you're not ready yet, but you don't want to miss out on this offer, because it's typically a $6,000 investment, you're getting it for $2,000 off just for being here and for saying yes to yourself. And those first 5 people that say yes will get the 3 month of private mentorship with me, which is another $3,000 value. So definitely we can, as long as your mom can make decisions, like all she has to do is decide, we'll still create a ton of space depending on her ability to make decisions. And without seeing the garage, it depends on how full the garage is. Some people have a full garage from floor to ceiling. Other people have a garage that, it's pretty full, but it's not like floor to ceiling and it's not densely packed, and we can create a shit ton of space in just a few hours. So it really just depends on how densely packed it is, how easy it is to make decisions, and that kind of thing.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Maya, the people in the preppers movement would love Dad's whole tools. Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so 2 days with me, with you right now. It's for today only for those of you that have attended this workshop. So I highly recommend that you take action now. Those first 5 action takers will get rewarded with a 3-month mentorship with me. And let's see, what else? Do you guys have any questions about what we've covered today? Before we wrap up, we got about 5 more minutes. This was so much fun doing this with you guys today. This was amazing. I love doing it this way. This was a lot of fun. Did you guys find value in this? Yeah.
Yes, I've accomplished a lot with my papers.
Yes.
I'm ready to
Yes.
file.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I think I went through about 6 inches and threw away a lot, and I've got a lot to file.
Step by step. I love it. Way to go. Way to go, Barbara. Glad you were here. Miss Marilyn, go ahead, my love.
Hey, I would love a membership where we could do this once a month or something. And so no matter whether you get off track or not, you can come back and you you can just do a quick reminder. We can do work. You can have a breakout with other people who are new, and we can just get to work and support each other.
All right. That's a good idea. Monthly membership. Okay. Jennifer, what's up, my love? There you are.
Excuse me, Mel. I noticed that for paperwork, I need quiet. I don't do as well. I can do things like sorting my schedule or clearing emails while listening to somebody. But when I'm looking at these papers, it requires me to focus. And so I wound up doing some other things because I wanted to catch what, the drift of today, and maybe when I do if I listen to your replay, I can put a pause on it and do the papers, because I wondered, now one thought or suggestion I did have about that is, if you ever had a session with people that focused on paperwork, my suggestion would be some silence for, like, silent number of minutes, say 5-10 minutes of silence, checking in, silence, just because with papers, it does require brain work.
Yes, absolutely. Great idea. I love that suggestion. Thank you for that. Good. Anybody else have comments or questions they want to share about today? Anything open up? Any awarenesses? Going once?
I was just going to say, you know me, I have to talk into silence. I can't believe how much I was able to do. And I was actually surprised that I'm kind of an introvert and I'm kind of in my own head a lot. And I realized that you're talking and I could listen. I just made each decision in 5 seconds, and left to my own devices, I don't know if I would be that structured. So that was like really helpful, and things that normally I'd be like, well, maybe I should keep that. Like, it was like, yes or no. And I just went through, like, literally, I don't know how many things. Crazy.
Love it. Yeah.
Yes.
This declutter membership might have to be a thing. That's a great idea.
I love it.
A monthly declutter session. That'll be interesting to see how we figure that out. Love it. Glad you guys found it beneficial. All right, well, we're just about out of time. Just a reminder, that offer for the 2-day VIP immersion at the $39.97 does go away at midnight tonight, and it's only for you guys in this group. So if that's something you want to do, I highly recommend you take advantage of it. And the first 5 people that say yes to themselves will get the 3 months of private mentorship with me. But it does go away at midnight, and you do have a year to schedule. So if you're worried about you're not ready to do it now, you don't have to schedule right now, but you definitely want to get in at this price, because it will not be this price after midnight. So, all right, my loves, congratulations to all of you today. You did an amazing job. This has been so much fun. Thank you for being my inaugural Freedom from Clutter Intensive, going through the step-by-step process. That was so much fun. Loved getting to spend the afternoon with all of you. And thank you for showing up for you, for investing in yourself. And I look forward to the progress that you make. Have an amazing rest of your Saturday.
Thank you so much for all your advice.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for showing up for you. I appreciate you.
Do you have a Facebook page, a group?
Yeah, if you go to Mel Mason, if you just Google Mel Mason, I pretty much come up. Right now, it's my profile picture is like me hanging off a rock wall inside a climbing gym, pretty much upside down. But Mel Mason, the clutter expert, I'm on YouTube, and Decluttering Spaces on Instagram, and yeah, Facebook. I have a business page on Facebook, but everything's pretty much on my personal page. I do everything on my personal page. So Mel Mason on Facebook.
Oh, I was just wondering if it was like a support group Facebook page of people that have attended your things.
You have the Freedom from Clutter Facebook group for this group that has 30 days of ongoing support. So the very first confirmation email you received when you signed up for this class has a link for you to join that group.
Okay.
So that you get the 30 days of ongoing support in that group after this 30 days from today.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. All right, my love. Have an amazing day. I love you all. So excited to just hang out with you today. So enjoy the rest of this Saturday.